Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast here at the Adventure Archive. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Hunter.
All right. And today...
Sometimes I'm normal, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, sometimes you go by your regular name. I'll give you that one. So, today we're going to be going over Soulburner from... Yeah, World Champ Game Co. Adam Vass. Anyone that listens to this podcast at all knows that this is unashamedly an Adam Vass Stan podcast.
Absolutely.
I should scroll up and show the whole Adam Vass, section up here. We're rocking our Adam Vass t-shirts. I got my weird metal baby thing. And yeah, we love some Adam Vass here.
I have that Snoopy shirt. I always wear this one for the stream, but I have the
Snoopy one. I thought about wearing that one
too. The Snoopy one
too.
with the flail behind it. Yeah, it's a good shirt.
That one's dope. Yeah, both of these are dope. And one of the things I love about it is because it doesn't really say anything about World Champ games on it at all.
Yeah,
which I think is one of those things. Like if you know, you know. But we love us some Adam Vass here. Done a bunch of games from Adam. We've had Adam here on the show, which was one of the highlights of our podcast. And this is another one that they just came out with a little bit ago. This is Soulburner, and the most recent game that they've put out, which we will be going over at some point, is called Sweet Revenge. Seems like Adam's dipped into some darker shit lately. Between this and Sweet Revenge, and if I remember the Twitter tease a little bit, there's a game coming out called something like Flail that might be kind of like a standard dark fantasy. I'm so fucking hyped for that. It's Adam, so of course it's gonna be. But
Soulburner is interesting because we've done so many zines, and this is a book. This is a book.
It's a book.
Yeah, it's a fucking
perfect
book.
bound. It's like 80-something pages.
I think it's 88. Wait, hold on. That might just be the PDF.
85 plus the reference page in the back. So 85, 86 pages. Yeah, perfect bound. Writing on the side.
It's super nice. I couldn't this. The quality's super high on this.
Yep. Looks dope. It's very, very, very nice. And Adam, I don't know if we have a ton of perfect bounds, you know what I mean, from Adam. Adam's done a ton of zines. We've got some hard bounds, Necronautilus, Cyber Metal, Necronautilus, Babes in the Wood. There's one or two up there. I think some of the expanded material, but this I think is one of the only real perfect bound beefy books. And it's nice. You're right. It feels nice. The art's fantastic. The vibes are high. As always, get a bunch of dope, cool stickers.
We do love our World Champ game stickers here. So.
We do. This one says, "I don't want to be me anymore."
Hell yeah.
It's Adam kind of chain facing it with some tulips. So yeah. Listen, if you listen to this podcast at all and you don't read and or play both, I guess you need to do Adam Vass games. You need to go to World Champ Games, either on itch or just worldchamp.io, and go check their stuff out. They're just as we go through this, you'll understand, and we'll continue to talk about why Adam is easily, unquestionably one of our favorite creators. They just don't know how to not put out fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think we're spotlighting anything this week. Maybe next week. We got some stuff coming up that we'll talk about in the show, but I think we're just gonna get going. Do you got anything?
It's so weird. It's so rare that we have an episode where there's not an interview and we're not spotlighting anything. It's I guess we're just gonna start what do we do? Right? Do we just go into it and read it?
I guess we just do it. I don't know. All right. So let's get
so first impressions.
I mean, you can just look at the cover and know that I was as soon as it said Necronautilus mixed with Merkborg, I was like, could be the greatest thing ever. You know what I mean?
It definitely is that. I really I'm excited to go over it. I always enjoy when we go over games because I feel like there's so much more solidified in my weird floaty brain. But I really liked the character body makeup, where it's like
Yeah.
your body's made up of your remembrances
stuff.
or reminders. Well, I mean, just stuff.
It's definitely a good mix of because this could easily have just been like an alt Necronautilus, you know what I mean?
Or Necronautilus, oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would say that it's probably 60-40, maybe even 65-35 Necronautilus to Merkborg. Yeah. For the core rules especially. And it could have easily just been like, you're Ash instead of the Death Agent, and it could have just been like a Necronautilus spinoff. But I love the mix of Merkborg into it, partially because as soon as you hear Merkborg, it like they've done such a good job of creating a vibe for a game that as soon as you say something mixed with it, you get the vibe a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think it was a great move to mix the two together, and I think it's really interesting that they've also made it where you can run pretty much any Merkborg adventure as this, or this as like any Merkborg adventure. So
I did see it. That's pretty cool.
It was a good way to instantaneously give you expanded content, you know?
Yeah. I also like, I don't know, like I always like the potential for crossovers in games too, even if you're playing with the same group and like in a different world and the worlds crossover a little bit. And like, I feel like Adam does cool stuff with that. Like there's a lot of parallels where you can be like, we're playing a different game and they're like tangentially related through some other world. But like, I was thinking Chain Face. Chain Face, in fact, is actually like a multi-dimensional being that shows up in every game because they're a multi-dimensional being, you know?
You even get like stats and stuff to play them in other games.
Yeah,
you know?
for multiple games. Yeah.
Someone said it on the tweeters recently about there should be more crossovers in games because the makers of a game coming out soon called Triangle Agency put out an adventure for you're in space and everything's fucked. And it works across both games. And then people were like, dude, there should be more game crossovers, like mix and match some shit.
Doing it with within your own, like, you know, work as well. It's like, it's fun.
And I love it, you know, and I kept waiting for a Death Agent reference in this one, you know, because
I was too, definitely.
You know, there is, but you know, I guess it is out of that realm a bit, but I love the continuity that Adam has across a bunch of his games for Death Agents, because I mean, you know, Babes in the Woods could have a Death Agent at some point if we played at the table, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, now I think we can hop in. What are your thoughts?
Let's do it.
Let's fucking do it. All right, here we go. Boom. Here is, so I'm gonna actually shrink this down a little bit so you can see the whole cover at one shot here. Oh wow, this is a lot smaller on the screen than I thought it was in real life. Cool. All right, so
nice.
This is the entire cover. It looks fucking amazing. It is
very cool style on this.
It is a burned person.
World Champ Games usual, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think there's actually other artists in this one as well, if I remember correctly. Matt.
Oh yeah.
I shrunk it down over here so it can be big enough over here, but we'll get to it in a second. But love the cover. It is a burned person in profile. The front of the book right here says a firestorm to purity, and then it's got the world champ and compatible with Merkborg on the front there. And you know, it says Soulburner. You know, I think that, you know, death metal logos and stuff are cool or whatever. I can never read them. I can read this one. Yeah. I can see it says Burner.
Actually, I can see Burner in this one for sure.
Yeah, this one's a lot easier than a lot of the.
But like, I can't read my shirt. You know.
You can't? That one's easy to read.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it's because I looked at it a bunch because I have it on a box. But anyway. So Soulburner by Adam Vass, getting cruising into this. So there's some stuff that's standard in a lot of Adam's games that we'll just kind of like breeze through, but standard page, playtesting, you know, the Merkborg license content, you know, it also says it's derivative of Necronautilus and, you know, another compatible with Merkborg with World Champ stamp on it. Really like that. One thing that Adam does too is every single page is different. And I love that about their layout. Like there's not like a standard parchment background. And then, but much like Cyber Metal, every single page is laid out as its own page and occasionally in spreads, and that's it. And I really like I love that every page is different.
Yeah, it gives it very much like an art book feel. Like, I mean, it is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, the readability is through the roof, though. I love this page here. The index page has burn written big across it in the background in front of some flames, and then in front of that, it has the definition of burn, which is to destroy, damage, or injure by heat or fire. And then I don't know. I feel like we've given Adam shit before about not having hyperlinks. I feel like that's one of the only knocks we've ever had.
I am very certain we have given that before. But this one,
no bookmarks. I will say no bookmarks. But hyperlinks, they're in there. And inline hyperlinks. I don't know if you noticed that. There's a lot of like references to other pages.
Actually, I did not notice that.
Yeah. So if you scroll down
I've been going through it manually, actually. So
yeah. Same. This is one that I really wanted to hold. But if you go down to, let's say, setup on page 6, there's a lot of references where it says character sheet on page 84. Every one of those, like page 18, page 7, those are all hyperlinks. So we got hyperlinks and inline hyperlinks. Love that, I mean, bookmarks are nice. Bookmarks are really nice because it's easy to like hit from the side and know where you're going. But it does have an index. It does, yeah. Who doesn't? And from the back as well. And it does have a hyperlinked index page, so you can't really ask for a whole lot more than that. And it's perfect bound, so there's no ribbon on the regular, but that's always been a bonus anyway. So as far as functionality and navigability, it's pretty much everything that you need for what we consider it at least standard. So really great. 84 pages, introduction, setup, fortune and fracture, characters overcoming challenges, combat, creatures, travel, game master, setting, adventure, oracle, and character sheet. Everything that you need. And we're going to get into it. So there is a really cool, really beautiful spread here. Says legends. It's got this landscape. Almost looks like almost moonish because it's like black and white.
Yeah, stony craterous moon.
Yeah, but I imagine it more like the ash fallen after a volcano. And on the one page, it has this kind of humanoid-ish ash creature walking towards you. Great page to start it off. There is
this is definitely a spreads book, man. Like, this is definitely like a spreads book. No, it's not your favorite format, but it looks so good.
I'm not going to say it's not. I don't mind spreads. The problem is, this is the problem, right? This is not in spreads here. I don't see this in the PDF. It doesn't come up in the correct spreads. It's missing a page in the beginning. Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer because if you do look at like this page here, this is spreads.
Yeah. So
the PDF needed one extra page to keep it in spreads because the cover is considered page 1 instead of the cover being a separate one. That's probably an easy fix in the PDF, or even just throwing a black page in to view in PDF. But
I was thinking.
But let me go back to my normal view. Page enable scrolling, view, zoom, fit with. So cool page right out the beginning here. It's got a little legend section. We could probably read these first two little sections here. I really like getting the vibe into this. So legends.
Oh no, I think I really like this opening section. Like the next 4 pages. Right. But
legends tell of dead that walk among the living, spirits rejected by death for a greater purpose. They wander among our cities, wade through our marshes, and climb up our mountains to ensure everything is in its right place. They pluck at the strings of reality itself to play a beautiful melody heard by all and appreciated by so few. The notes ring out across infinite time, their players, members of the everlong orchestra of the living. These musicians of fate, the ash, sustain our lives, the emissaries of the gods of truth and reality to our decrepit earthen plane.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I was thinking, the whole time I was like, yeah, go off. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of great lore, a lot of great vibe.
Adam Vass, Vass fucking esque opening,
Yeah, it's not even ask, it just is. It is Adam.
Yeah,
You are dead, consumed by fire, your skin melted, blood evaporated, brittle bones dissolved, your once graceful body now reduced to dust. Your spirit has been violently detached from your mortal coil and cleansed of your experiences, short of a few profound memories and glimpses into reality itself. Death does not want you, but fate surely does. It's just, it just keeps going, you know? Like, I'm going to keep going. Your soul is rejected by the forces of the afterlife, but by means mysterious and magical, your energy lives on, now contained in an ashen heap that warps to your will. Your cinder corpse tingles and twitches, constituting some makeshift form ever mutating. You've been given a rare opportunity to scour the planet in search of answers, personal and cosmic, writing the timeline with every vicious encounter and shaping the future itself in brutal brushstrokes of blood and burns. Discover who you were and who you want to be along your violent way through the archipelago of Kauter, with your past, present, and future memories at the helm. Boom. That's nice. The whole intro. Yeah. And it's good and worth it. And sometimes we skip that stuff, and you can't for this.
No, this is a good one. This is a real good one to. Yeah, we don't want to skip this one. No. It's really interesting. They're like between this and kind of like talking about Necronautilus, like the aspect of like memory being an important like feature in the game. You know, there's always something to do with like it's a very consistent theme. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's a Necronautilus hack, so using your memories and whatnot are definitely a part of it. And it's Cauter is probably the name, and that's probably how you say it. Cauter, that is a Landrin, because it's probably like cauterize, which is like burning with fire. So, it's cool. There's a little breakdown of like Ash, Death, and Cauter. Little buzzwords here. Ash is compelled, clever, confused, and at your service on the path. Death is unforgiving, violent, omnipotent, in constant pursuit, yet out of reach. And Cauter is volcanic, humid, crumbling, fanatical, and bloodthirsty. I like it. The only thing, I love the font throughout, but I will say there were times where it was a little bit hard to read. Took me a second to get what the A was, because it looks very much like the absolutely. U. Like if you look at Cauter, the A and the U are almost identical.
Yeah. They're real close.
But once you get it, you know, your brain works. That's how the human brain works.
Pattern recognition.
Yeah. Do you want me to just keep going? Or you want to do setup? What do you want?
I can do setup.
So this is a quick breeze though.
Yeah. This is a 2 to 6 player tabletop RPG. Each player is going to need the stuff that they need, right? Set of dice, and then character sheet. And this one's a little bit different. You're going to need a deck of tarot cards, separated between the major and the minor arcana, because they both work differently, which we're going to get to immediately after this. But yeah, you know, the rest of it is how this works. Players ask questions. It's a game. You got we did it. Okay, so dice and tarot cards. So through this, there are 2 unique options. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be sometimes. The first one is D21, and the other one is D14. D21, whenever that is called, you will be drawing from the major arcana of a tarot card deck. So that makes 0 the full and 21 the world, which makes 0. The D21 is a 0 to 21 instead of 1 to 20. The D14 is between 1 and 14, and that is the isolated minor arcana of the tarot card deck, with Page, King, Queen, and Knight acting as 11 through 14, respectively. So, cool.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, what I like about it is if you don't have a tarot deck, you don't have to use the tarot deck, because... That's right.
It is kind of like an option thing.
It's a D21, but it actually gives you it's 22 options, because you get 0 and 21. So you would basically just roll a D20 and just drop 0 and 21. Those options aren't open to you. And the same thing with D14 is you could just do a D12, or even just a D10. And then you would drop off Page, Knight, Queen, and King. and have those options, either 10 or 12 of those options too. So you can always still roll dice if you don't have a tarot deck. But you know, tarot decks are cool.
You know,
yeah, I only have like 7 of them. You know, if you don't have one, get your first one should just be a standard Rider Waite, because that'll give you the kind of like standard like images that a lot of them are based on. And then just get expanded versions from there. You know, like the oh my gosh, Wizard of the Barge. They have a dope tarot deck that I have.
They do have a dope, Wizard of the Barge. It'd be cool. You know, it'd be cool to see a World Champ Games tarot card set.
Let's do it. Let's fucking come on, Adam. You want to you want to do a tarot deck? But yeah. I love the use of the tarot cards throughout. I think it's really neat to, you know, because you can just shuffle up the deck and draw, and you're going to have a much better kind of like, it specifically talked about like having a more immersive experience, because you're selecting it, but also it says that if the cards are ever flipped
upside down. That's right. I did not touch on that part, but if they're flipped, they're the opposite. So strength drawn upside down, it says in this would be weakness. I'm like, oh, hell yeah.
Well, not only that, what's interesting too is like, you know, I fucked around with tarot decks, you know, getting used to draw and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why, like, because I'm a good shuffler. I'm gonna do everything. I put everything in the right direction. I do everything. I shuffle, and sometimes they're still flipped, because when I first started going through tarot, I was like, why would they ever be flipped? You just shuffle them in the same direction. No, that's very not true. Sometimes they flip for no reason. I assume in the process of shuffling they kind of spin, but it's interesting that no matter how much you try,
it's God, dude. It's God.
Yeah. Well, yeah, or the fates or whatever you believe in. Yeah.
So next page we have our safety tools, which is X card, lines and veils, and cats, which is that one was interesting. I don't know if I've seen that one before. Or maybe I just skipped over it, but
I think we probably skipped it. I think Adam's had that in his game a couple of times.
Okay, cool. I like that one. But very important stuff.
It's a neat
like
one.
We always say.
Yeah, but cats is cool because it's like safety tool, but also more of like a zero session kind of thing.
It's totally a zero session kind of thing. Yeah,
it's like a setting expectations kind of thing. So
yeah, and so CATS is an acronym. It stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. And it's kind of just a discussion beforehand about like what is acceptable and what the game will be revolving around, which you should just do. You know?
Yeah. Listen, hey, if you have a problem with safety tools or zero sessions, eat a dick. If you don't want to use them, don't. But no reason to be a dick about other people wanting them. It's cool.
Moving on from there, we have another really cool spread. It's a fireplace, isn't it?
I mean, it's fire for sure.
Yeah, well, looks like a log on fire, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a log on fire. Yeah.
And it says the way things are, and the next one says how they're meant to be.
I love the kind of like section spreads of that in here. Like all of them have that kind of like, you know, phrase. They are, like you said, like that 2-page spread. It's a really, really nice way to break apart each kind of like major part in the book. So it's really cool. Again, just great style for the layout there. Do you want to do the critical concepts? You want me to hit that?
Bro, go for it. You got it. It's all you.
All right. So first of all, I love the background of this one, how it's got this like face in the background with the eyes, you know, a different color. It's a very dark red and black, but it's got this like bright blue kind of like cyan-y eyes.
Yeah, very cool. It stands out really well.
Oh yeah, pops like a mofo. The gods of fate, sisters born of the night, our mother, spirits sharing at all our hearths, at all times, bearing down to make our lives more just. All realms exalt you, highest of the gods. So basically, it really gives you that sense of like the three fates kind of idea. There's never a specific number, but that's what popped into my head. It says, higher the heavens and beyond the grasp of hell, the fates pluck the strings of each earthly being, conducting an endless orchestra of forces, godly and mundane, in an eternal song of life and death. And that's kind of what the world is really about in this. The citizens of fate, they recognize that fate exists, that these gods of fate exist, and for the most part fall into just like kind of like what will be. Some people reach out and take a little bit more and justify it by saying, if I wasn't supposed to have it, the fates wouldn't let me have it. So just like normal world, some people suck. The meek stay quiet, the sheep flock, the powerful gain power, the wolves feast, and the gods of fate refuse to interfere, but they will give little nudges along the way, and that's where you come in. That is where not only the Ash, but also Fate Wardens and Soothsayers kind of like keep fate nudging in the right direction, you know, so that the gods of fate don't have to come in and directly intervene. It says, I will hold fast to the threads of fate. I can subdue death. So reminders. This is the first thing that really
interesting.
Yeah. Do you want to hit reminders? You want me to hit reminders?
So in this, you're like a burnt out corpse. And so it says your body barely meets the definition, like body. You have like your physicality has been totally warped by being burned. Like you have no use for your scorched physical body. What was once recognized as a face or limbs is now simply cinder in approximate shapes. You are nothing, a pile of crumbling ash, crumbs of what was once recognized as human and now are worth less than the dirt beneath you. So your form is not really your regular form. Instead, you are made up of essentially what are reminders. Reminders are the only means by which you can still interact with the world around you. The place where an arm once was is now an empty shack, a former home to a not yet forgotten family who you left behind. The smoldering fireplace they left to guide you home with a pillar of smoke can allow you to blind a nearby enemy with soot. So like your body is made up of like these aspects of like living reminders that you can then engage with to do things in a very like kind of open format, necronovelist style way. So very much like memories of the words of power, you know?
Yes.
Where it's like, I have the billowing smoke of my former home. It was burned down in the ashes, and I call upon that to like create an action. But that is what your body is made of. Which is fucking cool as shit, by the way. There's some real heady Adam Vass type stuff, you know?
Yeah, hardcore.
Yeah, it's once again, this is one of those games that like would be a blast to play, but there's definitely like I would have to handpick the group. It would not be my regular group, you know? I'm like, no, you have to write this whole narrative about your burning body, man. Like I really, you know, like continuously. Hell yeah. Listen, we're not having technical difficulties. We're having technical adventures.
No, I was just playing with the thing a little bit. You're good though.
But no, yeah. So that's your body.
Body's dope. Yeah.
Body's
keep
dope.
going. What? Yeah. Yeah, I was playing with the thing, so I completely missed. Did you see the part where it says that's the only way that you can interact with the rest of the world and stuff like that?
Yeah. That's how you interact with you.
Okay,
you
so
have
prophecies. Yeah. You hit those prophecies so that I can get back to fixing the screen here. For those watching, sorry, it's bouncing around a bit. All right.
Listen, Brian and I are both having a sleepy day, I think. So
I think the coffee's finally starting to hit a little bit. So
I'm sitting here chugging a Celsius 300 milligram caffeine thing. So I'm waiting, baby. At 8 o'clock at night, prophecy. I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues which are written. Oh yeah.
What's up? What's up?
Spoopy. Along your expeditions, the gods of fate, acting from beyond reality's veil, reveal to you visions of the future. In the ways they are meant to be in the form of prophecy. These visions can be delivered spontaneously by spiritual unseen entities or on demand from hired fortune tellers. Along each ash-covered adventure lies moments foretold by the gods. Is that Zephyrs? Zephyrs. And the soothsayers of the world. No mission is simple Simply what it seems, with the fate of every living and dead creature on the planet at stake as reality itself becomes increasingly fragile and fickle. Prophecies. Yep. There's a lot of fate stuff going on, you know?
Yeah, you know, but I mean, like, that's kind of the whole...
It is the whole thing
here. Yeah. Like, you are literally, like, the agent of the gods of fate, which I like how it's different than Necronautilus, and, like, kind of why it's, like, uses kind of the core of Necronautilus without being, like, you know, an expansion to or a split off from Necronautilus, because fate and death are very different in the concepts that are used, especially in here. You know, because you're literally going around like fixing things and you know, making sure fate goes in the right direction, versus Necronautilus, where if you haven't,
where you're trying to hold the status quo, you know?
Yeah, because if you haven't read Necronautilus, oh my, like you need to read Necronautilus. Yeah, we'll go over the you know, once we hit the actual like core rules of this, you'll get the core basis of that. But the concept of Necronautilus is that literally, like, you exist in a universe controlled by death that is filled with death. Like, everything in the universe that you see died in the regular universe, and you are an agent of death, making sure that, as Hunter said, you maintain the status quo. As opposed to this, where you live, you died, did not go into death, stayed in the real world, and are keeping fate moving in the right direction. And I love the use of things like reminders and the ideas, while giving you a completely different vibe about fates and prophecies and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to, you know, as you said before, like just maintaining the status quo. So
it is a cool take. I do like, yeah, thinking about it like that's very interesting. Adam's really, really clever.
It's good.
And part of that is
games.
Good at games. Like, and they're like, I'm really just growing to appreciate more. It's like, yeah, the other one's about like maintaining status quo, and this one is really about moving things forward how you want them to. I'm like, oh yeah, fucking that shit's tight, bro. Let me tell you,
it's
this
tight.
Shit fucks, bro. So yeah, there's a little on this page. There's a little blurb at the end. That scenario is designed for use with Merkborg. Can be easily converted to Soulburner. Their mission is usually made explicit in the adventure setup, because like the goal of a mission, obviously, if we're doing a fate-based thing, as prophecies can be very important. The GM then is going to create prophecies based on the information explored within the adventure. You can check page 64. Wait, is this inline? Oh, it is. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. For consideration when adapting existing Merkborg adventure modules for Soulburner. Fuck yeah. We love an inline hyperlink. Honestly, like, I like bookmarks fine, but I'm much more, I'm like, oh yeah, inline stuff, man. That's what I'm trying to get.
Oh yeah. If it came down to having one or the other, the hyperlinks and inline hyperlinks are way more important than bookmarks. I mean, but you know, bookmarks are also nice because, you know, it allows you to open up the side and scroll quickly to see where sections are and stuff like that. But anyway.
So yeah, mission and prophecies. This next section. So mission, the mission's the main objective, right? Whatever you're going to do, whether it be a dungeon crawl, a specific task, like any specific thing that you could be given to do. I think one of the other examples they're given there: damage control from past mistakes, tangents prompted by ash memories, or anything else. The described mission might include complication or caveats in their briefings. Example is, you know, assassinate the leader of a growing phantom army. Sounds sick, actually. That one actually sounds sick. Yeah, and then prophecies. So prophecies is 3 to 5 additional moments presented as a bulleted list that the Ash are tasked with ensuring take place. These prophecies may be vague and subjective depending on their in-fiction source, how you get them essentially. Prophecies may pertain to particular missions, the times and spaces between missions, or outside of the responsibility of missions entirely. Like, as a game runner, game master guy, this is definitely something that would take me practice to get right. But man, writing prophecies and making them like really, really subjective or vague, and then watching how player characters enact really subjective and vague stuff. Because, you know, as much as like when you're running a game, you right now, especially too, in kind of the OSR space, I'm like, I really don't know what's going to happen. Even if I give them a list of things to achieve, like, I don't know what's going to happen, man. They might do it in a totally different way. Super interesting though. Maybe potentially my favorite thing in here, you know?
Yeah, I really like it. And, you know, and it really encourages, you know, gosh.
Caffeine's hitting, by the way.
Yeah. All right, so this will be this will be one of the times that I get up on it. So 5e sucks, right? And one of the things that comes up in discussion a lot, and I think one of the reasons that people really dislike 5th edition, and it's one of the reasons that I dislike 5th edition, is not only that people that play 5th edition won't play other games, but it's because you can go to #DM tips, and basically every single one says, long story short, railroad your players, but don't let them know you're railroading them. Yeah. Your job is to write a story and then make sure your players run that story but think that they're not, right? That's considered good DMing in 5th edition. That's bad DMing. And what's funny is I used to think that way like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Yeah, like because 5th edition is designed to be ran that way. Like,
you want some advice you gave me once?
What's that?
The dice rolls just don't matter. Like, if you don't want them to die, don't let them die. If you're trying to just get them,
yeah, because that's how
it is really how you're taught to think. You know,
that is how you're taught to think in 5th edition. Is, and not only that, when you get the modules, it's a story.
Yeah, totally. There's a point A, point B, point C you're supposed to hit. You know,
you get all of these story beats. You get all of this stuff. When it talks about how to write an adventure, it tells you how to write a narrative. And it really is about being a storyteller. It's about designing a world, writing a story within it, and making sure your players go through that world and the choices that they make have no real bearing on the final outcome of that, right? And the odds of your characters dying in 5th edition are slim to none. You know, and the critical roleization of it didn't help either, right? That is what a lot of people dislike about those kind of games, right? Specifically 5th edition, it's one of the worst about it, because no matter what in the beginning of the game says, let your players do this and da-da-da, when the entire game is written, when the modules are written that way, when the books are written that way, when every aspect of the thing literally says your player choices don't matter, the world and story are already written, there you go. Why I bring that up is because the OSR space and especially Adam, who I wouldn't consider an OSR. I mean, I guess this is Merkborg, so it's kind of OSR adjacent.
Yeah, it's tangentially related, yes.
Right. But one of the big things Adam does is emergent storytelling, right? Yeah. Like, and especially in games like this, Necronalis, where literally your reminders and memories come from playing the game itself, and we'll get into more of that later. Like you just said about the prophecies, you don't know what's going to happen. The job is to be a referee, not a storyteller. You lay the world out, right? And then players can move around and do what they want to do in it. And I think one of the big differences is because people in 5th edition want to have like Matt Mercer style whole tables of minis and all this other like set scenes and stuff. And it's like you don't. I like having a grid for some combat, or at least like something to physically see tokens on. That's fine, but you don't need to have set scenes you have to force players to get to in order to play the game well. You can have a little bit of theater of the mind, and trust me, you can literally just have like a tokens on an empty board and still really be able to play the game that you want to play. So one of the things I love about this game, one of the things I love about Necronalis, one of the things I love about the OSR space in general is that you are a referee, not a storyteller. And listen, is it wrong to be a storyteller or to play in a storyteller game? I guess technically no. I personally, and I think a lot of people prefer to play a game where your choices, your actions, and the consequences of those actions actually matter. And that is why a lot of people are pretty anti-5e. Plus, I mean, let's throw in like all of the corporate stuff and like, you know what I mean? They're terrible.
They're a really great company.
Corporation and company. All the rest of that stuff, right? Fuck all of them in WotC, right? But that is one of the things. So again, what Adam does, obviously the caffeine setting, really well in a lot of the games, especially in Necronalis, and because this is kind of a hack of Necronalis, in this game is emergent storytelling where how you play continues to affect how you continue to play the game, and you have no idea what is going to happen when you start the game. Prophecies, as Hunter said, is a really great way for that to happen, where you can literally just have these like random ass, super obscure, subjective things, and someone can be like, oh, like I feel like I did that, and you're like, actually, you know what, technically you did. And when we get to the examples of the reminders, you'll see another way of how that runs. So I'm gonna step down off the shoebox, off the tall horse.
I think I can speak for everyone who's listening through all of time to say we were just vibing with you, you know?
Yeah. Listen, hey, if 5e's your game, keep playing. You know what I mean?
Listen.
Or play something better.
Actually, you know what? You know whose 5e table I would go play at?
Who's that?
Cassie Mothwin.
Yeah, Cassie's what's up. I really enjoy.
I would totally sit her. I would totally play 5e with her, because I listen to her talk about. I'm like, damn, I bet playing your table is fucking awesome.
Yeah, listen, and here's the thing is, like, as a GM, it's fun. Like when I was a GM, I have every physical thing you could possibly want. I have the minis. I have like the plastic layer thing, so you can have dragons actually flying. I changed the light bulbs and all the lights in my living room so that I could use color. You know what I mean? I had like the TV, the 40-inch TV to have like the actual like animated maps. I have candles that smell like where you're supposed to be. Like, it's cool to set a vibe, right? But I could still do all that kind of shit with the OSR too. But yeah, Cassie has a really cool, interesting way of thinking about games, and I think it would be great to sit her at a table. Also, though, I think that you could just, if you want to play 5e, there are plenty of good 5e hacks. I am excited to see the new version of Shadow Dark. If you haven't played Big Fucking Axe, that's a really, really good 5e hack. You can play the game you want to play and give it some OSR tendencies. You're muted, son.
Listen, I wasn't muted. You guys are all muted. Your ears were all muted. I'm normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, Fortune.
You carry that energy forward. Tell me about Fractured Fortune.
Yeah, I will. So on the onset of each mission, the timeline must be tested. For each prophesied moment left untold by the party at an adventure's end, the GM marks one failed prophecy. I fucking love that. And again, the way you play affects the way you play and actually has consequences, right? I love that. So beginning with D20, roll the current fortune die and subtract the number of failed prophecies from the result. So basically your fortune, your fate, and the ways that you complete prophecies use what amounts to a usage die, and which is also reminiscent of it's not Omens. Is it Omens in Merkborg, where like you can pick how long your campaign is by being like you roll a d20 and like the
it's Omens, isn't it?
Or the Psalms or whatever, right?
Yeah, but
so once you do the seven, the miseries, thank you, Jacob. Miseries, yeah. This reminds me of the miseries because you can determine how long your campaign is basically by saying like, all right, we're gonna do d6. Every time you roll a 1, a misery happens, and when you get to 7, the world literally ends, right? This reminds me of that a little bit in an interesting way, where you actually start with a d20, and for every like failed prophecy at the end of a mission, right, you the GM marks one failed prophecy beginning with d20, roll the current fortune die and subtract the number of failed prophecy from the result. On a 1, a fracture occurs, so somewhat like a memory. Roll D21, read aloud the corresponding destined passage, and diminish the fortune die to the next lowest size, D20 to D12, D10 to D8, D64. When the D4 would be diminished, the end is no longer here. It is here. Read passage 22. So this is a really fun usage die, failed prophecy kind of variant of Miseries in Merkborg, in a very Necronalis way, which I really, really love. It says failures
very cool adaptation, you know, like it like carries a lot of the same idea, but like it's inherently different. The dice work different, and it's like fits more in line with this game versus instead of just being like a total rip off of Merkborg.
Absolutely. Yeah. Failures of fate, bringing about the destruction of time and all within its reach. So you roll the d21, you get the tarot. There's different things here. So 6 is an immaculate child of virgin birth inhales their first infernal breath. Love that shit.
I rolled a 17.
Ooh. All right. Vast stretches of blue sky torn by the blade of an unseen knife.
Ooh.
That's what's up. And then 22, the thing separate and apart from itself, the thing that you don't ever want to get. The eternal mouth of the world opens wide. Its tongue flickers to taste. Its teeth grind to consume. Love that. And I love, I would not be surprised if that's what the back cover
that makes
is.
Sense.
Yeah. You are dead, but death doesn't want you. And it's a big open mouth. I really love that. It's a really incredibly clever way to take something and completely reimagine it, so you still feel what it was based on, but it is done and it's completely different. So it's one of the most clever things in this game. I think just the way that it's altered. Really love it. And then we get to another spread. It says born into suffering and screaming into nothing. Love that.
Just like real life.
Yeah. Cool little art piece here.
I like this art piece with these like hooded, horrifying, definitely not correctly put together faces.
Yeah. It's definitely Adam, but it gives me a hint of Johan a bit too, and I wonder if it's kind of like a nod. But then we get to the character sheet. Do you want to go over the character sheet? I also love that there's it's not just a character sheet, it's a picture of the character sheet explaining the character sheet.
That's very cool. There's also a character sheet in the back of the book. So character sheet each. Ash, that's us, the players, or you guys, the players. Need their own character sheet, which is available on page 84, or you can download it. Or print it from worldchamp.io. So on your character sheet, you have your reminders, which are the like physical manifestation of your memories, which is the best way to describe it, which is what it is. Title, the name you go by in the afterlife. So while you might have been Jim in real life, you might be the Jim, or 2d6 goblins. Embers is the measure of your successes that you can manipulate, or you can use to manipulate your circumstances. We haven't gone over embers yet, have we?
No.
Oh yeah, because page 23, and we're on 19. I can read. Fire, a number between 0 and 20 that quantifies your health and stability. Your items, which are items, and then prophecies. Very cool. It's a very simple sheet. It's really nice looking. I like that it's got the fiery background.
Yep.
Very on theme.
It's dope. And again, this whole page is completely inline hyperlinked to everything you could possibly need. So really from page 19, you can go out to any part of it. Ooh, gosh, the coffee is hitting hard. Focusing up here. So characters.
Nice.
This is awesome. So first of all, this kind of like weird flail, like behemoth like looking piece of art here on the side. Basically, you as a creature. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty, the actual meat of the rules and stuff of the game. So you are not necessarily composed of all your people parts. You are composed of a moment of time of past, present, and future, constantly shifting and warping, melting. Your crumbling corpse basically being what you need. And an ashen carcass is composed of up to 6 reminders, limbs, heads, appendages, and various shapes of flavor. So your reminders are your physical body, and they are kind of described as kind of some types of appendages. So you might not even be like a bipedal thing. You are just a floating ash.
Yeah, you could be a floating ash orb that has tentacles,
Yeah, 3 butts. When a reminder is formed,
the dream, right?
Yeah.
Try to poop 3 times at once, buddy.
and then you got three titties, like from what's that movie?
Is that Total Recall?
Total Recall. Yep. That's my first character. So each player begins with 3 reminders already formed, and I really like this. You get one of your demise. So literally how your physical body is formed, right, is based on, and your first 3 reminders is based on, one is your demise, which is literally how you died and were burned. 2 is a glimpse, which is a profound sensory experience between the realms of death and the living. And then the last one is won by your fate. It's your prophesied future, a force of finality drawing you near. So literally your first 3 reminders, which is your physical body, is memories of your death, a glimpse of the space between, and your future fate. How, like, so good. So you roll a d21 for each of your demise, glimpse, and fate. And at the formation of a reminder, you summarize it to your character in a single word, right? And then your reminders are assigned a numerical value to represent how powerful they are. When you get a reminder, you roll 3d6 and you look at the chart. So anything less than 12 is a 0, 13 to 14 is a 1, 15 to 16 is a 2, 17 plus is a 3. That is the power of your reminder. And then you get a title. Once you've learned of and implemented your reminders, choose a title to be called. Your true name may be consumed in the fire that took you from your body, but a designation will separate you. Establish your pronouns. They suggest using neutral pronouns, they, them, or it. But then you get, this is what you get. I guess you could do 2 of them together, or you could pick one. There's no real explainer of how the title works, so do whatever you want. But like, so say a 9 is chain, 15 is sin. I guess you could pick one or the other or both, I guess, right? You could do it twice and be eternal woe.
Yeah, I rolled, let's read it, let's do it. I rolled a 3 and a 6. So Tear Spit. My guy's name is Tear Spit.
Do it. You know what? I want to do one too. And
yeah, I read this as like rolling on one on each column.
One on each. So I'm actually I'm gonna roll, because it's the internet. I can do 21s. Oh, I get a 1 and a 19. I get a 1 and a 19. So I would be eternal light. Dope. I'll take that. So there are links.
That's a pretty good one.
Right. There are links out to Demise, Glimpse, and Fate. But before it gets to that, it talks about your... I kind of wish those were very next, but it continues with the regular rules, and then you hit those. So you talk about Fire, the Wind, and Solidify. Do you want to hit this? You want me to keep cruising?
Yeah, totally. So Fire is it's like in parentheses right there. It's your vitality. So it's like the measure of how held together your character still is before you are sent into the wind. So you're going to begin with D6 plus 1. When you are attacked, it reduces accordingly. So it's a spectrum, right? So it's 0 to 20. So I think the max you can ever have is 20.
Yes.
And the minimum you can ever have is 0.
Right.
Which that makes sense.
That's how math works. Yep.
Yeah, it says actually exactly how math works. The wind. So the wind is interesting. The wind is your like 0 HP state. So I'm just gonna read it. At 0 fire, your body crumbles the ash of your former corpse, victim to the blowing wind. You are destabilized for the length of the current encounter, while your spirit relives your burning, adding new details to your fragile, fractured memory. Describe vivid, emerging details of your demise, glimpse, or fate in lieu of taking a turn in the initiative. Another great example of emergent storytelling is that when you get to 0, you don't die. Like, you go out, and during that, you have like a glimpse into, either your actual glimpse or demise or fate. And at the end of the encounter, your body reforms ever so differently, replacing your highest value reminder with 1 representing your new uncovered memory at a value of 1 plus 1. You regain D12 fire and you carry on. So you don't die. Instead, you change, which super cool. That kind of carries along with that same mentality we were talking about that past couple of weeks, where failure drives forward. It's nothing like on failure, nothing never happens. Right? Like even in this, like at 0, like it's not that nothing happens. You move forward as your character, Shit's tight. A player's fire cannot go below 0. Ash cannot be attacked or otherwise damaged while lost among the wind. After each instance of succumbing to the wind, make a violent mark anywhere on your character sheet. Fuck yeah. After an individual accrues 3 marks, the Council of Fate Wardens, which we'll get to in a little bit, are made aware of your transgressions and place a bounty upon your retrieval. After 5 marks, Fate Wardens take matters into their own hands and begin to pursue you and your comrades for punishment. Fucking cool, right? Yeah, you just then not just that you die, it's like people start coming after you for failure to uphold fate, essentially. So solidify. Whenever you reach 20 fire, you can spend 10 to solidify a reminder, protecting it from the explosive purge and making it a permanent part of your body. Channel the fire, heating the ash limb to exceptional heat and forming a crystalline structure. You can still use this reminder to overcome challenges. Rolling exactly the DR is treated as a normal success, but inflicts double damage on attack. Failure still warp the shape of this crystalline reminder. A player can never accrue more than 20 fire. So again, it's like once you get high enough, you can totally solidify a part of your body and get an advantage to using it, but it can still change.
Right. It's and that's very Necro Nautilus. When you play Necro Nautilus, if you hit 0, it's not really necessarily like a fail state, but you don't. Your memories are kind of like so amorphous. You're not really held together anymore. But in Necro Nautilus, there is a quote unquote fail state or a win state, I guess. If you get too high,
your life gets too high or whatever. Yeah, you come back too much.
You come back too much and you actually become like a thing again. You're not just like an amorphous death agent. You remember enough of your past self that you kind of like become your past self again, and almost like this kind of solidify into an actual creature. So this, I really like this way of doing it, where like you said, like you don't die, and when you hit 20, you basically just like drop back down to 10. Part of you becomes solid, not ash, and then you just keep going. It'd be neat eventually you could just be like an entirely made of ash and crystal instead of like ash. And now you're just, I can imagine at that point you can't really like become smoke or things like that. Like it'd be really interesting to play someone who's got six ash appendages or crystal ash appendages.
Big crystal boy.
Big crystal boy.
Yeah, it's cool too. I like the whole transcending from like smoke to ash to crystal. It's like a like evolution. Not that I've ever said this about anything, but it reminds me of Kill 6 Billion Demons because it's how the angels work.
I've never heard of that. What is that?
Yeah, it's just some little thing I never mentioned.
Never.
You want to continue with embers?
Yeah. So embers are basically
Tell me about embers, Ryan.
Through fulfilling fate's desires, collecting and crystallizing reminders, and spilling blood across the soil, Ash can collect embers of spirit and soul to enable future successes. Ash cannot hoard more than 6 embers. So you can hold on to basically amounts to 6 XP, and you can use those XP to alter your circumstances, right? So you can gain an ember anytime you fulfill a prophecy, anytime you crystallize a reminder, or anytime an enemy's soul is made to leave their body. So basically, fulfilling a prophecy, I feel like, is hard, right?
Right.
Crystallizing a reminder, I feel like, takes a while, but an enemy's soul is made to leave their body. Basically, anytime you kill a bad guy, that could be a decent amount of time. So that's where you're going to get a lot of your XP and a lot of your embers, right? But how do you spend them, right? So Ash can spend embers to alter their circumstances. And again, you can only hold on to 6 at a time. So after that, you're just maxed out. So you can use 2 to re-roll a dice, yours or somebody else's. You can use 4 to automatically succeed on a given roll or deal maximum damage on a successful roll. Really like that. And then, or 6, you can alter an unfulfilled prophecy. So
that's
adding or removing, that one's huge. Adding or removing up to 3 words to change the prophecy's meaning. Doing so always earns the ire of the prophets and soothsayers of Cotter. So, at your own risk, but once you go down the usage die and you're getting close to unfulfilling a prophecy, you might want to piss off those soothsayers instead of bringing about like literally the end. Yeah.
Huh.
And then scale and spirit. So your action heat possesses immense power with no parallel in the living world. The potential of feats performed by manifesting your memories are bound only by imagination and your perception of reality. So basically, words, it's a really interesting way to use words, and your words can mean a lot of different things, and the scale of which is literally boundless, right? But it talks about spirit as in the spirit of the game. Like, you always want to be driving forward the spirit of the game. You never want to be breaking the game, right? It's like, the best way to deal with a problem player? Don't play with them. Yeah, just don't play with them.
That's honestly, dude, that's so fun. I could not agree more with that motto. That's been my motto for.
I hate the concept of like, how do I successfully ruin 4 people's day to coddle a 5th person who wants to be a dick just to be a dick?
Yeah, I don't invite that person. It's my house, bro. They aren't coming over anymore.
You just fucking don't. Listen, there's a big difference between someone who doesn't understand the concepts, because, when I ran on Meetup, there were people who literally had never played before and didn't understand the kind of like social aspects and stuff like that. Those are the people you take aside, put at a specific table, and once you teach them the kind of like the social norms of playing a tabletop game, they usually get it, and then you move on, right? And then there's people that are just dicks to be fucking dicks, fuck those people, don't play with them. So this is basically saying, don't be one of those people. Like, play for the spirit of the game. Your goal should be to make sure everybody has fun within the context of the game. Do that. That's it. Then we get into the demise, the glimpse, and the fate. Do you want to roll a couple like 321s? Yeah, I'm gonna roll 321s. So Tear Spit. What was Tear Spit's demise, glimpse, and fate? So demise, the last thing you saw before your timely death.
A closed leather book with a pool of your fellow's blood collecting an arcane embossment.
Oh, dope. What number was that?
18.
18. Damn. Oh shit. I also got 18, so I'm gonna reroll one of those. 7. Eternal Light got your rotund horse with broken legs wrapped in chain, braying in panic. Interesting. Okay. So that's the last thing I saw was my fat horse in chains. Cool. What was your glimpse? The outlasting sight after death beyond our understanding. What'd you get?
A bloody battlefield with angelic creatures wielding rope and chain attempting to down a country-sized shadow.
Dope. That's a really good one. I love that one.
That's a great one.
I got 8, an unflinching eye in an endless room following your every gesture.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then what was your fate?
A return to the dirt, the earth consuming the body it once birthed. Just like real life.
Yeah, right. And then I got 17. This is one of my favorite ones. The bloody baptism of the patron saint of spikes and barbs.
Hell yeah.
So those are your 3 reminders to start off the bat, right? So what was your demise? What number did you get again?
My demise was I already forgotten. It was a closed leather book with a pool of your fellow's blood collecting an arcane embossment.
So how would you break that whole thing down to one word?
Blood.
You'd go blood there? Okay.
I would, yeah.
All right. I would so a closed leather book with your fellow's blood collecting an arcane embossment. I would almost go like grimoire there. That's how I feel about the book thing. And then I got, what did I get? 7. Your rotund horse with broken legs wrapped in a chain, braying in panic. I would probably
there's a couple of good things to pull from that.
Yeah. I would either go, because I'm trying to like, how do I get the whole thing? What's my overarching sense of that? I would take panic. I would take panic as the word for that one. That would be my reminder.
That's a good one. I thought about that one as well. I was like, oh, panic's a great one.
Yeah. So that is how you take these prompts and turn them into the reminders for your thing. So my next one was
very easy to write your own prompts as well if you want to do a custom list, or like you want to draft this over to like, maybe you don't play in Cotter and you play in like maybe you have your own Merkborg group and you're like, you guys have all died. It's your same characters. We'll play in the same world. Like you've become these ash beings. Like here's a custom list of like stuff to roll on. That could be really cool, Yeah.
That's exactly it. My next one was an unflinching eye in an endless room following your every gesture. I would either go with just eye, because that's one that you could use a million different ways, right? That's probably what I would go with. So those are the things that you could do to make your reminders. And from my last one, the bloody baptism, I would just go straight baptism, because you could so much fucking cool shit with that.
Oh yeah. I was thinking my last one, the about the like returning to the dirt, the earth consuming, just like consume. And actually for the angelic battlefield one, I don't know what I would do. It's a bloody battlefield with angelic creatures wielding rope and chain, attempting to down a country-sized shadow.
So my thought with that would be not a word from that, but a word that describes like
the activity going on in there.
Yeah, or like bringing down something big, right? That's what I would go. Basically, it's that like I imagine, you know, that to me is like a horrifying religious version of like indigenous peoples bringing down like a woolly mammoth, right? That's what the thing that pops into my head, right? So then you could almost think of like I would say behemoth, but behemoth exists in this already.
It does actually exist in this, yeah.
But you could almost even just go for like hunting, right? You know what I mean? Or like hunt.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. And that would be something that you could use in a bunch of different ways.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's like that's the holy war, you know?
And then there's a very creepy piece here of what looks like an ash creature with like a weird, creepy, smiling face.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I imagine an ash to look like. And then another spread here, which I love, with like a hand that has the same kind of art style as the cover, but like it's the radius and the ulna here. One of them is a flail.
Yeah.
How fucking dope is that? And it says, you know, do what thou wilt and try as you might. With two hands, and the one on the right hand, look here, did you see this bone here where it's like
with the little face on it? Yeah, I did.
That's so fucking neat.
Cool piece. You know, even if you zoom in on the like the bones, looking at how it's like drawn and colored in and like very rough. It's very cool. Also, if you look at the pointer finger,
Oh, it's a hand.
The little hand.
The little hand. It's so good. It's so good.
Nothing's more disturbing than hands that have hands at the end of them, you know?
No, my God, dude. That's so... I can't remember what anime I watched, but it literally was like a giant hand, but each of the fingers was an arm. I think it was maybe Blood Blockade Battlefront. But like the arm, the fingers were so big that the individual fingers were arms that had fists at the end of them. Like that's so fucking creepy. Do you want to hit? Do you want to hit the overcoming?
Yeah,
this is the core kind of like stat
rolls.
This
is the meat right here, guys. This is the real fat.
The meat of the meat. It's the meat at the end of the meat. You know.
So, utilizing reminders. I guess I'll read the thing. I don't know if you have a discussion, but I'll read the thing. My mom keeps texting, Mom. Hi, Mom. Maybe she'll listen.
What's up, Mom?
When you use the reminder to overcome an obstacle, inflict harm, or otherwise manipulate your circumstances, describe how you would like to use it, and then you're going to roll a d20 and add the reminder's value. So really earlier, there is a little chart for what you rolled, and it was like a 0, +1, +2, and +3. This is a very Merkborg D20 rollover DR system, right? So there's a little chart here. It says 12 is average, 14 is difficult, 16 is very difficult, and 18 is nearly impossible. I think this goes without saying, but I'll read it anyway. Reminders are subjective and can be interpreted in different ways at different times to overcome different obstacles with different intentions, which is the absolute fucking strength of systems like this, especially like this one. This one, is like, like how you utilize a word might not be how I do it. And I'm super excited to see how your brain utilizes it instead. The meaning of each reminder can change over time, and players are encouraged to be creative in how they're used. Reminders are the only way by which a player can overcome meaningful obstacles in the game. That is it. You're not a physical being. There's no,
weapons, nothing, like nothing. Yeah. It's all
you're using concepts to overcome, that's like I see more things now that lean towards this, and like I'm gonna reference Bastards because I play a lot of it, but even like the magic system Bastards, like it's a 2-word system. How you interpret those words is not always how I interpret them, but I'm like sure, fuck yeah, go off, I guess,
100%. Yeah, just make it make sense, and sure.
Yes, totally.
Get me to yes.
Yes, if there is a train of logic, fine. If there's an internalized logic, it doesn't have to be real world logic, but point being. Okay, so moving forward, so the little plus symbol, when you exceed the DR, It's a success. Your intended result occurs. Describe the action in gratuitous detail. Focus on the manifestations of your reminder, and you gain D4 fire. With the little minus symbol. When you fall short of your of the DR, your attempted action fails, right? The GM describes how things didn't work as you expected, how you missed your target, how you incur unfavorable consequences, or how things generally get worse. Interpret this failure and add an additional single word detail to the used reminder and add +1 to its value to a maximum +3 because nothing goes over that anyway, creating a less versatile but more reliable tool for the future. Sick. Fucking totally sick. Failure moves you forward. Yep. Emergent narrative through failure.
And this is straight out of Necronalis. It's the exact same way.
And listen, I'm as fucking stoked about it now as I was when I read that. You know, I'm like, yes, I love this shit.
To explain that a little bit, it's kind of like so you add an additional single word detail to the thing you already have. So basically you have this one word that can be pretty much anything you want. So for example, blood. You had blood or consume, right?
Right.
So, and its value might only be +1, right? So you can actually make its value be +2, but you have to add a word to blood. What word would you add to blood or consume? Either one.
Like I was thinking of consume other, you know?
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah. So now the reminder is worth +2. So it'll be easier to get a success, but now consume other is what you have to use. So the word becomes more focused in what you can do. Like you can't consume anything you want now. Now you have to consume an other, but it's worth more points, so it makes it more reliable for your usage, right? So if you end up with a 3-word thing, so if you consume other being, your word is super focused now on what it can do, but it's worth +3. So it makes it easier to use mechanically, but kind of harder to use
it's hard to reinterpret it essentially.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. The interpretation is more narrow. Yeah.
Yeah. It becomes almost. Yeah. Once you get to, seriously, once you get to 3 words, I mean, that's that's a use case. Like that does that.
Pretty much what it is.
And it's interesting. We're going to get there next, but the more reliable a word is, the less damage it does if you use it to damage of the reminders. Right. So yeah, it's like as you fail, it's like, well, I guess that one's not my I'm not drowning them in blood or consuming their soul or whatever. Okay, last one though. Match. So when you match the DR exactly, you purge. Your intent is explosively manifested, leading to results even more powerful than you expected, but simultaneously destroying the reminder used. Gain a new reminder based on the current circumstance. Work with your GM to brainstorm a manifestation of your present troubles to replace your exploding reminder. I would also say, if we have a friendly table, it's like, brainstorm with your buddies that we're all playing with as well. Roll for the new reminder's value as usual. Reminders forged from purges have a minimum value of +1. Nice.
Nope. It's the same thing with Necronalis. I feel like Necronalis uses the same system with 2d6. So +1s, +2s, +3s are a much bigger deal in a 2d6 system. I mean, a +3 in 2d6 is like a 75% chance of success. It's crazy not to. And then your odds of getting doubles, I think is what it worked in there a lot of the times, is a little bit higher. But with your DR, even in a D20 system, having a +3 is, it's a 15% increase in your potential for success. So,
which doesn't sound big, but that's pretty good,
Yeah. 3 is definitely enough. Okay. And then
3 is enough, guys. Listen, no matter what they say to you, you're out there. 3 is enough.
But it is interesting that the math is a little bit harder in a D20 system in this. You know what I mean? Like it is. It's interesting how they adapted it to Merkborg. I like it. It's really clever. Again, it's turning basically Necronalis into a D20 system in a dark way, which is super fun.
Yeah.
Damage. Talk to me about damage.
Damage. Sorry, I was doing something in the chat. Reminders are assigned damage dice as weapon. weapons in Merkborg. The potential damage is inversely proportional to the reminder's value, meaning the less likely a reminder is to yield success, the more potential damage it inflicts. Have a nice little chart here. At 0 value for your reminder, that is 3d6 damage, several d6s, definitely more than 2. At +1, it's 2d6. At +2, it is 1d10, and at +3, it's 1d8. So +3 is cool, man. It hits often, but it's like, it's a lot different damage from 1d8 to 3d6. A lot of different damage potential,
It's crazy. It's so clever. I like how everything inverses itself and it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, right? Like the more, if you have a 0 value word, you have a word that is so open to interpretation, but no modifiers to hit, right? So if you do, it's a huge thing and it rewards you with the damage. And if you have a super reliable word, it's going to be super focused. You have to really think about like how you're going to use it in a very like narrow way. But you're going to hit with it often, but your damage is less. Like it feels like it rewards the punishment that rewards and punishes a reward that punishes. You know what I mean? Like I love the back totally. And forth with it.
Yeah.
So
it's a good. I really like this and other games we've gone over and how like the conversation and the mentality behind failure is changing within a lot of games. Because like a few years ago, even like when you failed, and now it's like there's so many games out there. It's like, yeah, but you fail forward. Things change, Yep. Frontier Scum, it's like failure is it like creates your character. And even when we were playing 5e, I would like, maybe not 5e, but 3.5 especially, we talk about how like the stuff that your character is bad at and the times that you fail are the best times, So it's cool that now there's way more mentality. It's like, so go ahead.
Well, just a lot of people they fight against failures and flaws. And those are some of the most memorable moments and the coolest parts of your character, Like,
when you whiff your roll and you accidentally do too much damage and the cave caves in, you're forced to go down instead of up. You're like, that's a whole, it's a whole thing.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I also really like the adaptation of Necronalis to a more combat-oriented system, because the Necronalis, a lot of it is more about like overcoming situations. It's not about specifically like you are a bipedal being and you're fighting another bipedal being. It's not really like that in Necronalis. It's more about a situation arises and you as a group have to overcome the situation with your words, not punch this person in the face and steal their soul and drink their blood. It's neat how it was adapted to the D20 combat system.
Yeah.
So talking about items, right? So characters are able to convert found or purchased items into new reminders, absorbing them into their ash body, destroying the original in the process. Consuming a mundane item in this way allows a player to roll 46, drop the lowest, and establish a new reminder. Dope. You can pull swords into your body and flails and like all sorts of random shit. Magic items and scrolls can be consumed in a similar way, and basically you just take the enhancement, because you know how Merkborg scrolls work. It's never just like lightning, you know what I mean? It's a whole fucking sentence to describe the scroll for lightning, right? Narrow it down to one word, and then you get to pull that into your reminder. It says work with the GM to dilute the enhancement to a single word reminder, and more potent magics grant an additional d6 to a max of d6 used to establish the starting value. So basically, if the scroll is super powerful, you roll a pool of d6s and you can take the highest or lowest or whatever you want to really decide the value that you want to give that, right? Because you could say, fuck it, I want a 0 because I want to potentially
you don't always want like a, maybe I have a lot of reliable words. Maybe they're all reliable. And I want one that's just like, maybe the heavier hitter for potential combat.
Which is such a smart way to do it. Lower your chance of hitting to increase your potential damage. I really, really love that. But it also says that some items aren't gonna be reminders, and you can carry something inside your ashen body. You can carry what does it say here? Your corpse can carry up to 2 regular size items or 1 large 2-handed item. So, 2 regular things or 1 big Zweihander stuck into your torso to carry around with you. And you can also not wear any armor because your ashen body just can't. I love the bottom of the page here, how it's the weapons coming from the side. I feel like this is definitely a nod to the Merkborg layout of the weapons page, totally. Where they all come in from the side. Really clever, smart thing there. So you can carry stuff, just not a whole lot. Anything that you don't make a reminder, you just tuck into your anime style, pull a sword out of your chest kind of thing. But
I bonded with my sword. It lives inside of me.
Yep. Pull it out from between your breasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all thought the same thing. And then you can assist a player, which is dope. So basically, you both get to roll when you're helping, and there's various levels of success for how often both succeed or not. So if you both succeed, you both gain D4 fire, and the narrative reward is cooler and bigger, right? If only one player succeeds, a successful player gains the D4 fire, and the failing player falls short. Right. So you fail. Right. If you help and fail, you still fail. And then if neither player succeeds when you're helping, you both fall short and you each lose D4 fire. So listen, if you're going to help and you both end up failing anyway, that sucks extra hard for you.
It does suck extra hard.
Yeah. But if at least one of the player purges, the attack still deals double damage and both players gain D4 fire. So,
oh, cool.
So purging is good for everybody no matter what. Succeeding is good no matter what. And basically, if you're going to help, you just don't want to double fail, right? But also, if you're helping and fail, you still fail. So, you have to be careful, if you're low on fire, so the fire wardens don't come after you about when you're going to help and stuff. And really, the only reason to help is to try to do extra. Your success really doesn't help the other player's success to a point. You know what I mean?
Right. Definitely. It's more mild than other assisting systems or rules that I've read previously.
Right. Yeah. So you absolutely can help, but I feel like it can hurt more than it can help. So you have to be.
It could definitely. Yeah, because do you both whiff, right? Which is like not unlikely. You're both losing. D4 fire and falling short. Yeah. So.
Well, yeah. And as I was reading this the first time, I was going through and I was like, I understand how this works because I've read Necronalis, because we've dug deep on Necronalis, but I was like, damn, I really hope we get some examples of play. And then boom, we run into 2 pages of examples of play here. I feel like in this kind of game where this concept might be foreign, have to have this.
I think I super agree.
I think we don't necessarily need to read the entire thing, but I think the examples would be good.
Though, if you're listening to this, you should get this fucking book.
Well, so I think even going over 1 or 2 of these is really good. So the one, it says they run into some people or whatever, and they have a reminder that's called smoke. So they want to turn incorporeal to avoid being attacked, but actually instead go inside the character, inside the other person's lungs to make them choke. So they roll a DR. Just going incorporeal would have been a 13, but to actually do damage, they do a 15, right? They get a 14 plus 2, so they get a 16. So then they get to do D10 damage. So that's the idea. If your reminder is smoke, the original thought was go incorporeal, avoid the attack. Then it was actually, I want to turn into smoke, go in their lungs, do damage. Cool way to do it, right? There's another one where they use spider to weave a tail to calm down people, right?
That's a
so
one.
Smart. How do you get from but they fail, right? And have to add the word silk to spider. So now it's spider silk. That completely changes the way you can use things going forward. And then there's a thing that talks about Echo. They purge with Echo, they succeed with Echo, but Echo is now gone. But what they were fighting was a fissure with things coming from hell reaching up to grab them. So when you purge, you do double damage, but your reminder goes away, so Echo's gone. And because your reminders are based on play, their new reminder is fissure, and it has a minimum of +1. So that's why, kind of planning the story ahead of time doesn't work, because things can change constantly.
Yeah, who knows with this? Who the fuck knows what's gonna happen?
Exactly.
Even if you give me those words, like I was not gonna guess how they were gonna use them. No,
like spider to weave a tail.
To weave a tail.
Like, oh man.
I mean, let me tell you, someone at my table said that, I'd be like, fuck it, go off, absolutely.
Yeah.
But never would I have gotten there, No.
You know what's interesting too is I don't really, and maybe I'm completely wrong about this. Do you remember ever seeing advantage and disadvantage in here? We're both looking stumped for those in podcast land.
Is there an advantage and disadvantage? Did I miss it? I don't know if there is, man. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll do a little Control F. No. There isn't.
Nice. I'm fine with that. I don't know. I'm not cool.
Yeah, doesn't make sense, I guess, to a point. Anyway, so now we are over the edge and under my thumb. New section, combat. You want to hit combat?
Combat. Hey, you guys know what combat is? The primary method of conflict resolution along the bloodlines of Carter is by violence.
Fighting stuff.
While the Ash are spiritual beings, they still possess the capability to inflict and receive extreme pain and harm, just like real life. When engaged in combat, each involved character acts once, unless they specifically are told to act more than once or they have the ability to, consisting of a movement and or attack. A movement, we love this. The best way to think of distance in combat is face-to-face, which is face-to-face. Close, 20 to 30 feet, size of an average room, right? Far range, outside of 30 feet. And then outside or out of reach is further than far or not within sight. Yep, perfect. Yeah. I love it.
You can just move from range to range. I love the thing here on the side. This basically prayer almost. May my enemies die before their time. May they go down alive into the world of the dead. Evil is in their homes and in their hearts. Love it.
Nice. Hell yeah.
I love a good prayer for someone else's demise. You know what I mean?
Also, yeah, you can each turn you can move a range distance. I know you just said that, but just closing out that page in my own brain. Attack. Attacks are treated as a normal reminder dice rolls. Successful attacks do damage indicated by a reminder value. So that was between 3d6 and 1d8. Defend. Enemies do not roll dice in this game because it is a Merkborg hack, and that is how God intended it. For the players to roll the dice, damn it. So they're gonna roll defense rolls. On the failed roll, the enemy is gonna inflict listed damage removed from your fire. Initiative, group initiative, once again, the best initiative. So you're gonna roll a d6, 4 to 6, player goes first, 1 to 3, enemies go first. Love it, nice and simple. Why fix what's not broken,
Yeah.
It also says the GM can subvert this rule in instances where one group catches the other one by surprise. So yeah, surprise. Armor.
It does say roll initiative again. It says once each member of the group has taken their turn, roll initiative again and continue until the exchange is resolved. So basically, it says roll initiative at the start of every turn. I feel like maybe Merkborg does that too, and we just completely ignore that because fuck that.
Yeah, I would tell you, I'm not gonna. I didn't do it for Merkborg. I'm not doing it for this.
And it's not bad because it's 1d6, and you could potentially do you go. And then enemies go, and then you roll. The enemies could go again, which could really alter the flow of combat. But it's one of those things where it's hard to keep up. You know what I mean?
It's also Merkborg, so frankly, if I have to roll that every time, it's the only thing I'm rolling in combat, as the game master.
You could have somebody. You pick someone in the group to roll it for you.
That's true, but I'm just saying, if I had to do it every turn, it's not really that big of a deal because I'm not rolling for the enemies. I'm just directing them. They're rolling for the enemies. So. Yeah, who cares?
Right. So you're just defending each time. I still think the coolest initiative we ever used, and it works with that system, is Death in Space, where you actually pick the next person that goes. I love that.
Oh, we read it. I haven't read it since, but I didn't play it with y'all, so I forgot that was how that worked.
We played a couple of it. Yeah. It works so well. It's so good.
That's a cool. I think that's a very cool rule. Armor. Previously mentioned, Ashen Heaps cannot wear or otherwise utilize armor, but your enemy sure can. Each level reduces incoming damage. So light -2, medium -d4, heavy -d6. Yeah, but you can't wear it. It's just for your enemies. Morale. When half of the enemy party has been incapacitated, the survivors roll 2d6. If the result is greater than their listed morale, the enemies are demoralized and surrender or attempt to escape based on the likelihood of their survival. A good rule, because nothing that is alive fights till the death.
For the most part. Yeah.
Well, like natural instinct is to
real
flee.
World. Yeah. But I mean, also, you're playing in a fantasy world or something.
You're right. If you're fighting some fantasy monster created for death and killing that doesn't recognize survival instincts, then that makes no sense.
But even within the bestiary, that's not often,
Yeah.
Very rarely. Yeah.
So, Ryan, what are Fate Wardens?
So Fate Wardens are interesting, right? I imagine... So the way it fits in my brain, and this probably isn't right, is I imagine what are the things that go after the death agents in Necronalis? Remember the part?
There are things that go after the death agent. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. It's in the other room.
I remember it's like scratched. It's like scratched out even on thing that says they don't really come after you. Anyway, so the Fate Wardens, the Ash are not the only entities tasked with ensuring the will of fate is enacted. A more brutal and menacing agent waits just behind the Ash and is called upon only in instances of infractions against fate by particularly enlightened or spiritual beings. Those are the Fate Wardens. Wardens of Fate appear only after Ash are deemed exceptionally indignant or ineffectual. Ash collect reprimands. So this is what we talked about earlier. If you succumb to the wind 3 times, they put a bounty on your head, and if you succumb to the wind 5 times, they come after you. And I love the picture of the Fate Warden on here. It's this kind of like, you can see this kind of like shape. There might be like a wing coming off like the side here. There might be a horn coming off the top here. There's an arm. It's just a really great picture. It says, after an individual accrues 3 marks, the Council of Fate Wardens are made aware of your transgressions and they come after you. So there's actually a 3d6 table here of what could be coming after you. It's a bounty hunter, a trait, and a tactic for those things. So I'm going to roll 3d6 and come up with the bounty hunter that comes off to you after you have 3 marks of violence against you. So I rolled
Death Knights, by the way.
Death Knights, yes. Fate Wardens remind me of Death Knights. So, the bounty hunter I rolled is a starving peasant whose trait is maniacal and violent, and whose tactic is attacks silently from afar. So if you get 3 marks of violence, that's what's going to come after you. A maniacal and violent starving peasant that strikes silently from afar.
Well, Tearspit got... a Hulk. Also, kind of fucked that you got Eternal Light and I got Tearspit.
Hey, Tearspit, what's up?
A hulking metalsmith who's nervous and desperate, who disguises themselves as someone in need. Which, yeah,
interesting. And again, emergent. After 5 marks, the Fate Wardens come after you. And this is what the Fate Wardens are. They are HP 24, spiritual armor D4, and then you get to choose 3 reminders from the list here, and each one does D8 damage. So there's Nightfall, Sanctum, Rancid, Hologram, Starborn, Cannibal, Spiral, and Snakebite. Or what came after you. I would also come up with just my own shit for
I'd be
Wardens.
let me tell you, I'd be doing my own shit as well,
all day. When a Fate Warden would reach 0 HP, they instead dissolve into ash and let their corporeal body drift to the nearest sea, where they will reform at full health in D6 days. So really, even if you defeat a Fate Warden,
you
come
don't
back for you.
Them. There's no defeating them.
Yeah, once you have your 5 marks of violence, it really does come down to just a matter of time.
This reminds me a little bit of did you ever play the Prince of Persia series?
I watched the movie. Jake didn't. Yes, I played at least one of them. Yeah.
Oh well, and like not the Sands of Time, but the one after the Sands of Time, like Fate monsters of Fate start coming after you because you've been fucking with the timeline through the Sands of Time.
I think I played Sands of Time is the one I played, and I thought that was such a clever mechanic to be able to just rewind your fuck ups.
Yes, that game was amazing. And so the one right after that I thought was really good as well. And they're wrong for canceling that series and not bringing back the OG. Bring it back. Bring me back to the Sands of Time, baby. So,
do it.
Soothsayers. The people of Carter have developed a hesitant reverence for the uniquely skilled fortune tellers and patrons of fate. Every settlement across the land offers sanctuary to a handful of soothsayers without hesitation, granting them a faithful esteem similar to a priest or healer. They offer poetic prophecy to anyone able to pay their abstract price, often dealing in trade and favor in lieu of silver and gold. Much of the exploration outside of the boiling barriers of civilized territory is done so in service to these soothsayers, with the adventurous and forlorn seeking rare treasure to offer in exchange for the knowledge of their future. The honor associated with the position gives rise to a fair share of swindlers. That's 1 in 6. You get to roll and see if they're fake. Who would deceive customers with artisanal untruths for fun and profit. Hell yeah. Now, very cool. We do love the soothsayers. Soothsayers kind of got the same thing as the Fateborn. You got to roll. You're going to roll 3d6.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna roll 3d6 for
let's roll ourselves some
soothsayers. Oh, dude, I got a 6, a 6, and a 4. So I got a
toothless
so close radical,
to a cool number,
right? Toothless radical, demented and broken, with hallucinogen-induced visions. I mean, come on. Can't give
I have a robed occult expert, conniving and greedy, who interprets oracle cards.
Dope. Yeah. And when you were doing the 1 in 6, I rolled, and
I'll roll 2.
I rolled a 1, so my guy's definitely a scam artist. He's just trying to get them shirmies.
Weird, my conniving greedy guy, I rolled a 5, is actually legitimate.
That's awesome. All right, so hitting on to hey, Adam Vass, World Chum Game in chat. Yeah, we started about an hour and 45 minutes ago, but we still have plenty to go here.
Time is an illusion. It doesn't really matter, you know?
Yeah, right. It is all a flat circle. So creatures unseen across the islands of Cotter and its perpetual wisps of land growth lives innumerable species of beasts and creatures. So these are the creatures that you can make. So on your expeditions, the GM can roll a d6, encountering a newly discovered form of wildlife on a result of 1. Use the D14 Oracle for each aspect of the following spread to generate newly uncovered creatures. I really love the spread to create these things, especially with the Oracle cards. So first you get a look, which is obviously how they look in their manifestation of form. And powers and strengths, which are aspects of the animal that can be used to bolster its strength. Weakness and detriments, which is obviously the negative aspects. Scale, which is 1 to 14. The lower number equals smaller, less armor, weak attacks, and lower HP values. Behemoth is a special consideration. Basically, every creature can turn into a behemoth, and then you get the morale. So unseen creatures generated randomly should have values between. You get an HP of around minimum 7, maximum 40. The teens are the average, so anywhere in the teens. The morale is 2 to 12, 7 is average. Armor, informed by the above traits, light, medium, or heavy, as stated before, 2, 4, or 6. And then damage is between a D4 and a D12 with the average of D6. I really like the way that you could easily do this, the way that you can create spreads for the baddies. Even on the back page, there is a reference page for how to do oracle spreads to create things, which is such a clever way to keep using the tarots and stuff. And there actually is a oracles that come with this, if I remember correctly. So you can lay stuff out to create these things. And I like the use of the averages across for that. Next is behemoths, which is what I talked about. Basically, foul creatures left to their own devices in the wild with very few natural predators could potentially grow to abnormal size and terrorize stretches of vacant land between settlements. And any beastie born can become a behemoth. So in each entry's listing alongside the expected attributes are additional behemoth stats, which include the chance or the likelihood for the species to grow into behemoth. When encountering a creature randomly or in planning an excursion, the GM rolls the listed die. On a result of 1, the creature is a behemoth. I love that, and it's interesting because some creatures have more and less options to become a behemoth, right? So you could have like a D20 option that it's a behemoth, but there's some that are D100s. So that would be a crazy beast. There's increased health and attack for the behemoth and a special additional circumstance specifically for the behemoth. So
it's a cool way to expand your monster manual easily with like cool. It's reminding me of something. I can't think of what it is though. They do have Pokemon like that though. Shout out.
It reminds me of Kingdoms a bit with the giant creatures.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yep. There's a fungal heron. So the behemoth fungal heron is only a D12. So that's cool. Swamp bait or swamp bat, swamp rats, primordial thermophile, caiman. Those are like D20s. A warg, which is, a wolfish beastie.
We love a good warg.
Who doesn't, right?
Who doesn't really? Marsh hag is really cool. The behemoth marsh hag can summon a horde of golden boars, which is, what do you do in that instance?
Right. The re-memory is one of my favorites, right?
Yeah.
So HP 26, morale 10, reminders are D10. The behemoth is a D100. And a behemoth rememory is the first stage of becoming a titan. So you can look at grief and hate later to see the various ways of titans. But a rememory is a memory manifested without intention, be it by erroneous spell, errant curse, or erratic spirit, takes a cloudy form nearly indistinguishable from the ash. It shifts forms as needed, but lacks a purpose granted by fate, instead left to wander the wastes in search of sentience, which it attacks physically by inducing vivid recollections and feasting on the entranced target's flesh. They cannot be harmed with physical weapons. Terrifying. Right? It can't be harmed with physical weapons, so it can devastate an entire settlement. So a re-memory is basically an ash without the guidance of fate. And I fucking love that. That's
really cool.
It's so cool. It's just, I don't know what about it, where it's just like, you could have been a re-memory, but fate decided to give you a little bit of sentience and a little bit of direction, and you get to be what you are instead. And the fact that it can eventually become a titan is so fucking badass. I love that.
Magma Cult is super cool, right?
So dope. Various levels very cool.
Too. The behemoth version's D100 has obsidian robes, which I'm just like, that sounds really heavy, Yeah.
It's dope. Feral Miscreant,
and the art all the way through the beastiary is really good as well. I really do like the heron, which is the first thing we looked at. The fungal heron's a weird looking one. I like that.
Yeah. It even says in the thing that some people confuse them for angels because of like the wings and the glow and stuff like that. It's so good. The miscreants are good too. Little phrases on the side. Yeah, it's dope. And then we get another spread here. This one with like a burning like barn, and it says high roads, low lives. Love that shit. So getting into some stuff, it's we can breeze through a little bit of these things. This is travel. Overland versus island travel. Basically, Cotter is like one giant continent, kind of dying lands-ish from Merkborg. The map is like, it's a continent, so it is what it is. But there's various ways you can travel across the mainland or across the various different islands. You can travel overland at will, traveling to unknown location on the continent incurs a random overland encounter, which is on page 58. Which again, hyperlinks. And then just various encounters for those things. And then selection of established regions are collected at the beginning on page 70. So it's basically a gazetteer section there. But there is another spread here for region generation with the Oracle cards. So you can basically use the Oracle deck, again, referencing the final page of the book, to do theme, inhabitants, culture, beasts, and surroundings for generating new regions, which is awesome.
Oracle decks are cool. I really love that. I really want to. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm having one of those other moments where I'm like, I really want to adapt this and do like my hell adventure for my dead player characters, you know, as this could be really cool.
Yeah, it's just the Oracle deck given, but also you can use another Oracle deck. Just the various ways in which you could use those things for adaptation. And again, like you can roll whatever, but like having the decks is super fantastic. Reaction rolls for different things. I mean, you know, it's pretty standard, hostile, angry, those kind of things. And then there's examples of region generation, which is a clever way to do things. Are really nice to have. Examples of play is something that you absolutely have to have in games. And with a new concept like this, exactly like we talked about with the reminders, super important to have this. Really, really love that this is here. One of my favorite graphics in the entire fucking game, the graphic behind you right there. This is super exactly cool. It reminds me of Ash. You know, as I'm reading this, especially when I see this picture, what popped in my head over and over again was Fire Punch. From the creator of Chainsaw Man. I don't know if you actually read Fire Punch, but anyone out there, Fire Punch fans, it's what's up.
I was thinking about Fire Force.
A little different, but also, religious fire, you know, it's a thing.
Yeah, you know, maybe not 1-to-1, but just thinking about the burning, what do they call in Fire Force? The fucking burning.
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about.
Doesn't matter. Infernals. Hey, there we go.
This does look like an infernal. Yeah. You know what? Fire Force was a fine shonen, but I feel like I fell off around like, I don't know, episode like 20-ish or something. I should get back into it.
So the same. Oh, dude, totally same. But I just like the one.
I have like 8 animes going on right now that I have to finish. Fucking Paranoia Agent, Wonder Egg Proxy. I just started Fate Zero. I don't know.
Wait, which one is Fate Zero? The one that I like.
I don't know. It's a good one. It's Fate.
Too many of those Fate ones, you know?
Well, if you have to sit for an hour just to read how to watch an anime, might be a lot, you know? But I did.
Is that so? Really?
Well, there's like, so it's a light novel that has various pathways in it. So different animes follow different paths of the light novel, but there's also like stuff that's not
how the
canon.
Series works.
Yeah, but there's also like ones that take place during like the 4th Holy Grail War, then the 5th Holy Grail War. So it's like
we're really on topic. Like, we've done pretty well to stay on topic today, but
hey, listen, sleep and then a lot of coffee at one time definitely keeps us on topic. So there's a list here of overland encounters. You want to roll a D21? Hit me with an overland encounter.
I definitely do. Let me go back to where I was.
We're getting there. We're 60 pages in. We're about to hit the adventure. So we're about done with this. We're going to hit the actual scores soon. 9. So you got a large, hairy, naked person with extraneous limbs that digs a pit scattered with human remains. They burrow out of sight when you speak. Sup?
Huh. Well, that's terrifying.
Yep. And then roll me an island encounter.
0.
Oh, dope. A crew of fortune tellers argue over an oracle card spread that each insists their interpretation of the end days is correct. I really love number 16. A penal colony of murderers, thieves, and heretics fights and bickers over a dwindling food source. That's what's up.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. Because no matter what game you're in, no matter what fiction you're in, no matter where you are, the worst creature you will ever come upon is human beings. Another spread here, heavier than heaven, lonelier than God. This is one of my favorites.
I was about to say, I think this is probably my favorite of the like spreads like this.
And it's got like the goat head in. Again, I just wish
that's why.
I just wish if there was like one extra page so that the 2-page view would have the spreads like laid out for this. Ooh, I scrolled real fast on that. Because it's missing just one page in the beginning because the cover is used so that the spreads aren't aren't perfect in the PDF at least, but still dope in the book. Single page view, zoom, fit width. Okay. Continue to scroll. We're getting to, so this is a game master section for responsibilities and principles. This is something that I feel like we can breeze through pretty quickly. I you know, it's neat that it's in here, but if you've GM before, for the most part, you know how to do that. But it talks about asking what the players want to do, answering the questions. It talks really about like how to referee and not be a storyteller, which is something you should always have. You know, it's nice that it's in here. Ask, answer, and embellish are the most important things. Ask the players what they want to do. Answer players. Players will ask a myriad of clarifying questions. So answer them and then embellish. I hit the view wrong on here. Enable zoom, enable scrolling. Thank you. And then embellish using sensory descriptions and plenty of rich and flavorful words. Player consequences. I really like this. How you can use the Oracle decks to give you inspiration for consequences. So you can either roll the D4 for wands, cups, swords, or pinnacles, or you can draw.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, when I play this game, I'm never rolling dice in this game. I'm like, no, I'm
gonna have the cards right next
Why would I not do that?
Oh my god, yeah. So for wands, you got things like,
I love rolling dice, but I roll dice all the fucking time. I never use the tarot cards, so
right. So wands, you could have the environment shifts, a storm is brewing, a route is blocked. For swords, something sleeping awakes, the ire of the gods, an unseen threat revealed, a temptation offered by dark forces. So it's really great to use this. And again, this is what we talked about, where you're not a storyteller, you're a referee. You can have this emergent storytelling where your character changes over time based on what happens in the story, and the GM can use the story, the environment, and oracles and things like that to create these situations. Again, you don't have to have an entire room set piece full of your dwarven, you know, whatever fort furniture shit to have a good system. You can literally have a blank, right? You can have a blank white screen with 4 tokens on it if you want, and your players will be able to have a fun time. And again, emergent storytelling, refereeing, as opposed to, you know, a settled story narrative where the players' roles don't even fucking matter and the consequences are inconsequential to the ending. I would go with the former, not the latter. And then I love this page here about Merkborg considerations.
Yeah.
You know, again, this is a Necronihilist and Merkborg hack. And as we talked about before, I feel like it's really is like 60-40. You know, it's Necronihilist turned into Merkborg, not Merkborg turned into Necronihilist, I think. Yeah. You know, but as we said before, I love that you can basically turn any content you want into Merkborg or
that's
into
genuinely
into
like fairly insane amount of content too. I mean, like I think one of the biggest things we always talk about with Merkborg is that just like if you get the game, like there's so much content out there that it makes it essentially an endless game.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, it's to the point where there's so much content you have to parse the good content out of it anymore. But especially the early stuff.
Yeah, but that's just, you know, that's everything popular, you know.
Yeah, to a point. Yeah, I agree. But I feel like doing Soulburner with one of the first adventures we did, the one that Carl Druid wrote. I don't know why I'm blanking on it.
Where you guys wake up in a tomb and stuff? Is that
yeah, it's like Graves Left Wanting or whatever. Basically you die and then you have to, like, you know, I mean, no spoilers, but I feel like that one as an Ash would be like a perfect one for this. Graves Left Wanting is what I'm pretty sure it's called. Yeah, thanks. So there are sections here that talk about the power in this. So as an Ash, you are stronger than a low level character. Your damage output is higher, your HP is higher. So think of that, but also it can be balanced with behemoths, you know, or you could just not care because who cares about balance?
Well, health is similar. So that's the only part, is the HP thresholds are similar.
No, because in Merkborg, your HP is like 1 to like 6-ish.
Yeah, I guess it really is.
But in this, you start with D6 plus 1, but anytime you kill something, you can get D4 fire and D4 fire. You can go up to you can go up to 20. So I think maybe at the very start, it might be similar, but the options to exceed past your max pretty quickly are a thing. Prophecies don't exist in Merkborg, but goddamn, if there isn't a game that's fucking does like easily putting prophecies into Merkborg, I feel like is fucking cake. And it talks about basically
honestly, and I mean, just by reading through the adventure, you kind of understand the direction that your players are going to go around that. And like, I would just be putting in I would really, like, that is the part of this that I'm most interested to see play out. Is like, if I like lay down like the prophecy is this vague statement, like how are my player characters gonna fuck around and, you know,
right? Well, especially if you can kind of
this prophecy, you know.
Well, especially if you can kind of like mix it two different ways. Like if you're going to run into like one or two big NPCs in an adventure, most likely, right? I would love to try to write one up that could be fulfilled by either one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of shit. You know, that I think would be really fun. The objectives, we talked about this before, like in Merkborg, you're scrappy survivors and you operate on very personal levels. But in this, you are a tool of fate. You are nudging fate forward. So it's very much different on a world shaping level versus interpersonal levels. But again, it's the dying world with, you know, the two-headed behemoth and stuff like that. I mean, like, she is a thing. I feel like there are considerations, but it's not hard. I feel like to put Merkborg into this, and also
this would be not much more prep than I would do anyway. So
no, I mean, and I love the idea of this. It is a really fun way to take Merkborg and make it more, as it specifically says in the objective section, to take it from. Like, I think one of the biggest knocks, and me and Jason have talked about this a lot, about Merkborg, is that there's no real reason to do anything. In a lot of dungeon games, your goal is gold, and gold gives you XP, and then you level with gold. Makes sense. In Merkborg, the world is dying, so realistically, why are you doing anything with fucking drinking?
Yeah, nothing matters. It's the end of the world.
Right, so it's kind of just like nothing matters, so do whatever, and that's never felt like a really solid motivation to me. But this, I feel like, gives you that motivation of nudging fate in the right direction and those kind of things. So I feel like this is a way to give Merkborg a little bit more of that world shaping, like kind of like prophesied stuff. You know, I feel like there's more motivation in this than in classic Merkborg, you know.
Classic.
Yeah. Then there is a mission generation table, which I love. It's another Oracle spread: goal, adversaries, complications, environment, and reward. And then there are roll tables for tasks and targets. You want to do 2d14 for a task and a target?
I really do. Oh, not 3. I got a 4 and a 5.
A 4 and a 5. So you are to rescue an evolving specimen. Interesting. I like that. A lot of good words here, though. Punish, annihilate, liberate, watch. So you could annihilate an armored warlord or escort a painted jester. Like, it's interesting how you are a tool of
pastor.
Right? It's interesting how you have these like world options as a tool of fate, but a lot of them are still very like worldly, you know? Like you're retrieving a cannibal insect. You're still doing worldly things, but the things that you're doing are dictated by fate, and you can still be punished by fate for not doing them. So it's a really interesting way to take something as kind of like big as Necronalis is in its scope and really narrowing it down into Merkborg, which is really about like the interpersonal bullshit of a dying world, you know?
Right.
No gods, no masters. Basically, there's a whole section here on playing without a GM, which basically you would have a group GM, which I really love that idea. Totally. And it even gives you like a D20 roll section on basically on how to do yes or no questions into no but, yes but, and yes and, which honestly you could do anytime you wanted, anytime. That's a great way to do like a fate dice.
You could. Just like, this could just be the thing you do is when you're GMing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Here, sure. You know what I mean? I love that. Have you ever played Archipelago, or did you watch when we played Archipelago?
No, I didn't. I missed it. We've talked about it several times. Like,
so good. It's very Ursula Le Guin inspired.
In real life, someone brought that game up to me. I'm like, this is a weird conversation to have in real life.
It's so good. I highly recommend anyone that likes group storytelling, emergent narrative, all those things to play Archipelago. It's a diceless game where really your fate determines your story, and you all build a world and play out your fates in it. Really, really clever. But it has like the yes but, no ands. Those are like basically one of the main like. That is the main way that the game is played. So it's really cool to see it in here. Yeah. So Adam in chat said that he definitely took this mechanic from Archipelago. So look at us. We've read some games.
We be gaming, you know.
And then there's another spread: the warmth of the sun, the depths of your mind. And then we're hitting the regions of Cotter. So this is a thing we're not going to go over too much. But this is I love this. I don't know what about the shape
is so cool.
You know why? It reminds you of the flame. That's exactly it. Like the top is very flame-like, and you couldn't ask for anything more than that. But yet again, listen, I think again, and Adam, tell me if I'm wrong, I think we might have given some shit about not having hyperlinks in some of the previous games. God, there's so many in this, and I love it because even the letters here that take you to the let me click over here so you can see it. All of these are hyperlinked. So if you want to go to the Evercairn, boom, you're on the Evercairn page. So it's really fantastic. Not only do I love the way that so wait a minute, sorry, real quick. It's meant to look like a burning skull. The nose eye socket sort of bled together in a cool way. So you have an island with a flickering flame. So let me go back up to the totally get it. I really like that.
Hell yeah.
And listen, just listen, because one of our what's the word I'm looking for? One of our lasting legacies in TTRPGs is going to be hyperlinks. I will say, Adam specifically said they learned to hyperlink because of our videos. So I'm going to add that to the list of games that are hyperlinked because I'm an asshole about hyperlinks. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It's really fantastic.
But it is really such a quality of life thing. And it's so cool, like, to be able to go down to the map. I think, like, the inline hyperlinks, I think we talked about earlier, like, I'm like, oh yeah, inline hyperlinks, fuck yeah. But I really like the map hyperlinks. So I'm like, okay, cool, we're here, they're going here, it goes to the teeth. You click and scroll down. It's like what game had the train adventure and you clicked on train?
Fucking Frontier Scum. Oh my god,
Frontier Scum.
So good.
Yeah, that's fucking sick. So big quality of life improvement.
Oh yeah, it's huge, you know. And then I love, this is the right way to do a gazetteer. It gives you a breakdown. We go to Red Rest. It's a prison nation of faceless souls kept here and prevented from moving to their appropriate afterlife as punishment that exceeds a living sentence. It gives you a breakdown of each region, and then on the side it gives you missions: kill the Hate Titan, extract the wrongly prosecuted Fate Warden within, and then it gives you prophecies: hate conquers all, and none compares to the prison in our mind. So I love the prophecies because that gives you such a good indication in various regions what a prophecy could be. A tree falls in the forest and doesn't make a sound is a prophecy. Oh my god, how do you make that into the thing? And it's so good. Riding on the back of an abominable beast is a prophecy. So the regions, the gazetteer aspect of it, the missions listed for each region, the prophecies listed for each region, not only is it good in the context of having content to use, but also in explaining how to create your own content, because you can create new regions, you can create new missions, you can create new prophecies, and it's a great way to do that. Then we get to the adventure, the Boiling Blood of God. Guess what? Buy the fucking book. We don't read this shit. Buy the fucking book. And not only that, I'm pretty sure that the Boiling Blood of God is one of the free, like, quick start aspects before you even buy the game that you can read. So it's literally free. Go fucking download it. Really fantastic. And then Adam said that the only art that they did in the book was the map of Cotter, and all the rest was Matt, who we mentioned in the beginning. So really cool. Again, especially since Adam usually does a lot of their own art, especially in things like cyber metal. So, and then we get to the D14 oracles here. So this is the wands, the cups, the swords, and pinnacles. And this is what you can use to either roll on the tables or flip with your minor arcana to do those things. So that's really fantastic. And then you get to the character sheet page and the reference page at the end, which has the spreads for creature, region, and mission. And then
it doesn't feel like a super long book. I mean, I guess it's not. It's 88 pages, but like we've been going through a lot of zines, and like this still went by like, there's like a good amount of stuff in here without me being like, oh my God, there's so much going on, you know?
Well, it's just the density per page. And, if you look at, there's probably 5 or 6 spreads that are just those kind of like flavor spreads. That's 12 pages right there, knocked down, right? The adventure is probably a good 8 to 10 pages. That's another 10 pages right there. So really, if you put this into just 2 columns of pages, you're probably looking at 30 pages. You're looking at about like a zine-ish that we would say.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it into the book that it is the art, the style, the options, the spreads, the vibe that adds to this, as opposed to being whatever. And we'll talk about vibes in a little bit. So that's the game.
Oh, we'll talk about vibes.
That is Soulburner from World Champ Games, a Necronautilus mashup with Merkborg. So let's get into the review.
Oh, that's right. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
There's so many episodes recently where we now have to go back and review with our new system. But
so that is one thing that we are going to do soon-ish. There are a lot of zines. If it's less than 30 pages and doesn't have a lot of art, we've gone over a lot of zines that we didn't give a score to because we didn't feel like the scores that we're about to go over really fit or would have done justice to the zine, because it's just, they don't really need to have all the things that we talk about.
So we just didn't fix the problem for like months and we just continued forward.
Right. But we recently chatted, figured out the way that we're going to score zines, and we're actually going to go back all the way to the beginning, make a list of all the zines that we didn't score.
Nice.
Have to reread a bunch of them, and we're going to sit down and do a re-review special, much like we did when we switched from 25 points to 50 points. We're going to do a re-review special, right?
Dude, that was so long ago. We've been doing this for a minute.
I think it was like episode 10 or something like that. It was pretty early. Yeah. We've done like 60 episodes since, but we're going to go back and re-review all of the zines. But right now we're focusing on Soulburner. So
reviewing. But yeah, Soulburner.
Right. And we even tweaked the scores from this a little bit. Now it's just art and style, layout, rule set, originality, and value. We got rid of some miscellaneous words like function and crunch and stuff. So real quick breakdown so people understand. This is 5. We review this to give an overall kind of like whatever, because we want to quantify our experience with the game. Each one is worth 10 points, so there's a total value of 50. 5 just means that something is bang average. It's not bad. It's just average. It's what you expect. So art and style is the art in the game, actually the quality and quantity of the game and the style of the game overall. So when you look at like the way it's laid out, but stylistically, not in like the actual like mechanical layout options, that's what that is. Layout is exactly how it sounds like. It's how the book is laid out. It's its readability, its function, its navigability. That's where hyperlinks are going to come in. That's where readability of the pages are going to come in. That's what layout is. Rule set is, if it is an adapted rule set, how well is it adapted? If it is a new rule set, how much do we like the rule set? Are there things we would change? Are there things that we don't like about it, or do we love it? And then originality is kind of a mix match of all of those things mixed with setting and lore, and if it's a space game, it hasn't been done like this before, that kind of thing. Value is how much the game actually costs, but beyond the actual price of the game, what you get for your money, your bang for your buck. Not only how much does it cost, but how much do you get with it? Is there expanded content? Is there third-party licensing? Is there printable character sheets? Is there character generators? Are there adventures you can play right now? Could you potentially adapt
a ton of material to the game you're playing?
Right, exactly. And then you get the total score out of 50. So yeah, so art and style. So this one, as Adam said, is one of the games where they did not actually do most of the art for the game. The art,
which is crazy because it feels like it's so perfectly World Champ still, like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the art is done by Matt Oberski, with Adam doing the Cotter page right there, which is fantastic. So, I mean, just like all the rest of the World Champ stuff, I mean, especially it's an art book, that's why.
Yeah, so this is an art book. What did we give Necronautilus?
Fuck. Necronautilus is one of the ones that we actually went back and bumped up points because we did it so early, and then we kept looking at the games and being like, man, this is so good.
This over time. Yeah. So
so Necronalis, because it does remind me of Necronalis a little bit. But I do love the spreads.
It's also full fucking color on the inside. So
Necronalis, is it black and white?
It is.
No, it's not.
Well, it's not full black and white, but there's a lot of black and white in it.
Art and style, we give a 9 to Necronalis.
This can't. I mean, this is Go ahead. Say what you were gonna say.
This can't not be that, but I mean, I would say let's look at like Cyber Metal. That's one that I think would be more indicative of this a little bit. Where is the score page for Cyber Metal? We also gave that a 9. I mean, I don't think it can get less than a 9. I mean, it's like this definitely not getting less than a 9. It's really, really good. The full page spreads are cool. And all the art, I mean, there's art everywhere. It's all really good. It's fairly unobtrusive, right? Like we can read everything. But yeah, I think this is a good art book. It's been a while. I've been playing really functional RPGs recently and buying really functional zines and stuff. So it's cool to get one and be like, cool, I got like an art book RPG again. So I really enjoy it. And we said this early on, no 2 pages are the same. Like literally every single page is a completely different thing. It's not like, someone just did black and white 2 rows of text, and then in the empty spaces between stuck some art. That's what we would consider standard, like 5/6s, right? Is literally just 2 columns of black and white text, or 2 columns of black text on a white page, and empty space filled with a couple of pieces of art. That's a 5. This is the exact polar opposite of that, where every single page is its own spread. Like, love that. So obviously 9, right? Layout and function. So we talked about this before. I think maybe even did Cyber Metal have? No, it didn't. I think that's one of the big knocks we had on it, is it didn't have hyperlinks. This obviously hyperlinks, no bookmarks. Not going to take a lot of points off for that. But not only is it hyperlinked, it is inline hyperlinks. Oh, I'm going to read this. So also just a note, Soulburner layout in a way is sort of a rejection of Merkborg maximalism. They used a standard header, subheader, body, font style, and kept it mostly straight horizontal to show that it's possible to do evocative and artist layout without ripping the Johann style. So very true. I mean, all of the text is mostly in one direction, because one of the things that's really kind of obnoxious, and we talked about this before about some of the Merkborg, I'll be mean and call it shovelware, is they try to take Johann style and do it poorly, versus someone who takes it and does it well, like Christian Eichhorn, where you can adapt the maximalist style with the fonts and the layout and stuff like that, and do it well. A lot of it is I don't know. It's interesting when you look at Merkborg layout done poorly, and I like the idea that this is kind of a rejection of that maximalism. It can be an art book, it can be evocative, and for the most part, all of the.
Dude, honestly, like I think I prefer. Frankly, I'm not just saying this because Adam's here, but like I think I just prefer it because I have a hard time a lot of time when there's a lot going on the page to really zone in on what's going on the page. And we've talked about this before. It's especially like stuff like It's the Odd, where it's like so centralized, like text. I'm just like, oh, perfect. There's not too much, but I like the art book aspect. I think this is a good middle ground for me, where it's not so busy that like it's just purely like a lower end function, like on the functional scale of art.
Well, the thing that's different with this versus things that we talked about with like some other games is oftentimes a book with a high art and style score will get a low layout score because the art often affects the readability, which affects our layout score, right? This does not. As Adam said, if you look, almost everything is black on white pages or white on black pages in horizontal font with headers and everything on the pages, and only occasionally is it tweaked beyond that. And even in parts where there's a lot of art on the page and things on the side, it is laid out pretty much classically, as a zine, but tons of art. So again, like you just said, this is a perfect middle ground for that. This and Cyber Metal both. I like the layout. I like the function. I think the only knock at all I have on it is the lack of bookmarks. I mean, obviously, again, we've talked about this before. It's not going to be a 10. Troika is the only thing that's got a 10. Death in Space is the only thing that's got close to that. And it's not because it lacks something. It's because those other things just have more. I'm talking like
they're way more about the function.
Sections. Yeah. The functionality of those is through the roof. So this is not a lower score on this is not a knock. It's just that because we do scores in context of other things, when something shines so fucking bright, it lowers the score of everything else forever. Troika does that. It just. So
what do you think of this? This one has inline hyperlinks. This does have a hyperlinked. It has inline hyperlinks.
Super readable. I mean, but that's something that we should just have. That's something you should have when we give knocks for not having. You don't give bonuses.
Yeah.
Right. This to me is between an 8 and a 9. You know what I mean? Like Troika got
cool. That's exactly where I am. So.
Troika got a 10. Death in Space got a 9. It also has,
I think this is a solid 8.
I think it's a solid 8. Yeah, because again, like Death in Space is a 9, is color coded. Every table, it has an index of tables in the game. So every literal table you want is even linked to it. So like, I feel like pretty much the highest you can get outside of those two games without doing all of those things is an 8. And this is about as high as you could possibly get, for layout, for a game that has art and style of this caliber in it. I think this is about as high as you can get. Rule set. This is what's interesting.
Okay, so I'm about to blaspheme terribly, and I apologize to everyone who has to hear these words.
If you say it, I'm going to disagree.
What do you think?
I feel like I know where you're going. If you say a 10,
I am not saying that. I am saying that. Listen, I love Necronautilus, but I think I like this more.
Oh. Okay, I'm fine with that. You can have an opinion.
Yeah, I think this is more. Necronautilus is really, really good. And I enjoy the rules and I think they work really well. But I think because of how heady it is, I have to be more exclusive with who I paid Necronautilus. This is much more grounded in maybe more OSR style that my table could pick up easier. And I just like the way that it's an adaptation of both those rule sets together in a really effective way that kind of uses the best features of both.
I will not say I like it better. Because Necronautilus is one of those games early on when I first really started getting into non-5e tabletop role-playing games. It's defining, dude. Like Adam was one of the very first creators I read. Ooh. Adam Vass, he's just some person, World Champ Game Co. We only have like t-shirts from them and like whole shelves of books and stuff. But it's one of those games where I hold up other games in comparison because of how well they do it.
To it in all fairness.
So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna say I understand where you're coming from, and I agreed to a point in that I don't think it's better, but I would say that this is more approachable for the average table. 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. I feel like, as you just said, taking this to the table, I feel like I could pick 3 people that have played a tabletop role-playing game before and bring this to the table, and they would get the concepts a little bit easier. I feel like this is a really good middle ground between something super heavy. I feel like there's something written somewhere, and I can't remember where it was. It might have even been on the itch page, where it says this is where it's kind of like OSR meets stoner metal, and you can kind of have like a happy middle ground. I do say I feel like this would be a little bit more approachable because the concepts of ranges and combat and damage dice and stuff like that are easier to approach without being, like you said, as heady. But I like the headiness. I like the cleverness. And I love the way that it's been kind of dialed down a little bit and adapted into a more approachable system.
So we gave Necronautilus a 9 for rule set, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
What did we give Merkborg?
An 8.
I think this is a 9 for me, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's an easy 9. It's an easy 9. It's an easy 9. Cool. Like that's not even a question. But like as we said before, this is like a 60-40 Necronautilus Merkborg, and I feel like what you're saying really hits it on the head for me, where I love the headiness and just out there-ness of Necronautilus. But like you said, that is a kind of a more advanced game for people that not only played TTRPGs before, but can really think outside the box. And Merkborg is one of the reasons we gave Merkborg an 8 is because it is pretty standard OSR, but it's done in such a good, approachable, well done way. A mix match of those two together done. I don't think you could do it any better than this. I don't think there's any aspect of the game where I would go, I would actually tweak that. Right. Yeah. I feel like this is a more approachable Merkborg. I feel like this is an approachable Merkborg with combat, or an approachable Necronihilus with combat, is what this is. Yeah. Originality. So it is it's an adapt of two things that already exist.
Right.
So it's not completely original, but Necronihilus in itself and the rules in which they use, where you literally use, like in this game, your physical body is made up of reminders of your past. You start with your physical body is literally started with a glimpse of your death. It is your what are the words? Is my brain breaking? It is literally how your demise, a glimpse of death, and the fate of what you will eventually be are literally reminders of that. Create your ashen physical body that can become crystallized as you nudge fate forward. I mean, come the fuck on.
Yeah, it's that's that good world champ weirdness that we love here. You know, it's like fuck yeah,
so
that's
good.
Fucking that's its own thing, and I'm really into that.
I mean, what I mean, even within the context of Necronihilus and Death Agents, adapting it to Merkborg is, it is.
What are you thinking?
I mean, I don't know. So Necronihilus got a 10 from me because it just blew my fucking brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
Merkborg got a 9 on originality, and that's just because it was how to do gonzo weird death metal OSR in a way that I hadn't really seen
personally,
before.
I'm between an 8 and a 9 on this. I'd be good with both those. You're going to be the tiebreaker.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, the only thing that really drops the originality score for me is just that that because it is a hack of two other games we've seen both of those other games before. If I would have seen this first, if this existed before Necronihilus existed, this would be a 10 for me. But because it is a hack, I feel like it does. I don't know. I'm also between an 8 and a 9 on this. I mean,
okay.
I'm trying to think of the thing that would either take it up or take it down in originality.
Yeah, me too.
Right? God. Like what, I like Behemoth. I love the concept of Behemoth. That's a really fun, interesting, cool way. Too. I love the GM list.
That's a good point.
Bringing in like the archipelago style but stuff to it. I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm in like a 9 for this. I feel like
I think I am like I'm good with a 9 on this one. I'm having a hard time reasoning why it would be an 8. Other than the fact that it's just an adaptation of two other games. But smushed together. Two other games kissing.
In a good way though, because this also
in a great way. It's actually like a shockingly successful like mashup. Honestly, it's good. Great.
It's so good, and even then, like, you can play every game you want for Merkborg, but I don't feel like Cotter, even though there are like the fates and the world can end in the mouth of the thing that's going to crunch and chew everything up. I don't feel like it feels like the dying world. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I feel like it just feels like a fucked up world, Yeah.
And listen, I enjoy Merkborg plenty. We've talked about it. It's definitely not my main game. And I couldn't tell you exactly what about Merkborg that makes it not my main game. But this fixes that. I'm way more excited for this,
Yeah. I feel like Merkborg does. Merkborg is one of those ones where you can do simple things in a really, really good way to make it extremely effective. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what Merkborg is. Everything about it, for the most part, is very simple, but done in such an incredibly clever way. It's just a good game, right? Simple, right? Necronalis is almost the exact opposite, where it's incredibly heady, incredibly, you know what I mean? Like, just, it's, you have to think way outside the box and really expand your horizons for the way in which you play the game. So it's an interesting mashup of a game that literally couldn't be polar opposites as far as, especially the mechanical aspects of it and the way in which the game is played. And to slap those two together, and like you said, in such a perfectly successful way, like, yeah, I would play this before I would play Merkborg, and I would almost play this before I played Necronalis, because I'm an edgelord little fucking piece of shit.
That's right. You do suck terribly.
Yeah, no, I don't. I just like dark shit. You know, this takes Necronalis and adds a hint of like death, despair, demise, and fate to it that really tickles my bones.
So value.
Okay, so value. Yeah.
So okay, listen. On itch right now, it's $15 for the PDF. On worldchamp.io, it's $33 for the book. You do have the ability to download the adventure for free, and also you can adapt anything from Merkborg
right
to this game.
I will say this though, like 88-page PDF. But $15 is just a smidge. I was thinking around like 10 or 12. Mm-hmm. $33. It is a perfect bound book. It is not a hardbound.
Yes. And like I've been honestly recently, I've been having a lot of complaints about them not being perfect bound books that we keep getting, that are just like they fold they fold open, like despise that. And this is nice. This is a nice book.
It is nice. It is nice. But how much is Necronalis hardback on World Champ? And also don't forget, a lot of World Champ games, when you go to the actual website, have a tiered level of support where you get the standard, you can get a hardship version, which is a couple bucks cheaper, or you can do a support version, which is a couple of bucks more expensive. First of all, love that.
Yeah.
How much is a hardback Necronalis?
30 is Necronalis.
Hardback, $30. This is perfect bound, $33, right? So it's a full
color.
It is full color. So that's a little bit of a trade-off there, right? Hardbound.
And dude, personally, I can't speak for everyone else, nor would I want to, but personally, that is a trade I will take. I will trade out hardback for a perfect bound full color book any day.
You know what? I don't disagree. I'm not gonna agree 100%, but I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I will agree. I will agree. I will say though, it is nice to have Cyber Metal, which is both full color and hardback. So I'll say for just cost, which is not the total of value, it's about average. It's about average, if not just a tiny bit expensive. But it is also put out by an independent creator. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, there's no backing of fucking WotC and like the rest of that. Which would make this like $50. But so I think it's about average. It's like a 5 to 6 to me on value, if that was all we were looking at.
If that was the only thing we were doing it by, yeah.
So, but scroll down on the itch page, and what do you get for free without even buying the game? What do you get? The adventure for free. You get the character sheets for free.
It has a playlist.
Yeah, all of that stuff, right? So you get character sheets, you get form fillable character sheets, you get the adventure for free, which can be used to be played in Merkborg, right? So added value right there. It's everything World Champ, right? So when you look at the very beginning, I can only assume that if someone wanted to hack this, they'd be allowed to hack this. And okay, so that's added value right there. So you're already looking at like 6 to 7-ish for pretty standard on our value chart. I think Necronalis got a 7 because that's about what it had. It has some more expanded content now, but right, one of the most clever things I think as putting these two together is the amount of Merkborg content that exists out there. Every fucking piece of it, every bit of it, you can use to play this game. That skyrockets the value through the fucking roof because there is an endless amount of content now. Literally an endless amount of content. Because not only that, right, you can really use even the generators for Merkborg to create adventures for Soulburner because you can adapt Merkborg to Soulburner. So basically, every aspect of the value you get from Merkborg, you can get with Soulburner, right? Yeah. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Right, it's crazy. I'm between an 8 and a 9 on value for this. Realistically.
I mean, yeah, me too. I'm more like, God, I guess I'm leaning towards another 9, frankly. Like,
yeah, I'm between the only reason I would even reduce the value is all of that stuff is now accessible in Soulburner, but there is still like
there is a barrier to entry of like, doing it yourself and like adapting it. Okay.
Adapting it. That's the only reason.
I think a strong 8. You know?
I think a strong 8 is.
We're gonna have to start labeling those like Anthony Fantano, you know, where it's like a light to decent 4, you know?
No, we'll just go from like PSA to Beckett, where we'll start doing like 0.5s and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, perfect.
So you could have a gold 10 or a black 10, you know. Damn, this might be the highest rated game we've ever rated, which is crazy to me. I know you've already done the math, and you know I'm going to do it anyway.
No, I didn't do it because I'm tired of doing it, and then you doing it anyway. So you just do the fucking math, then, Ryan. What is it? Huh?
It's a 43.
It's what?
43.
43. Yeah, that's pretty high.
That is one of the highest rated games we've ever done. I will say that almost every one of the top 5 highest rated games we've ever done is an Adam Vass game. So we won't throw that shit out there. That looking in putting that in context with some other stuff specifically. So when we look at Necronihilus, so let's look at Necronihilus and Merkborg comparatively, right? Okay. Merkborg is actually the highest scored game we ever did. And that's a 44. But part of that is because the value is a 10 because the entire game is free.
Because it's
every like you can get the bare bones edition for free in every adventure ever written for basically free. So that got a 44, and Necronihilus is the second highest rated game we've ever scored at a 43.
Yeah.
Right. So
but what we give Cyber Metal?
So Necronihilus was a 43, and then Cyber Metal was a 43.
Holy shit, man. That's fucking wild.
Cyber Metal went 9, 8, 8, 10, 8. And Soulburner went 9, 8, 9, 9, 8. So we actually gave a 10 for originality in Cyber Metal because it did cyberpunk in a utopian way, which was very weird.
It's a anarchist utopia. I can think of words. I know fucking how to speak and stuff.
Right. Rule set on this got a on Cyber Metal got an 8, and this got a 9, which I do agree with. I love the rule set in Cyber Metal, but I feel like it is still very much like a mechanical rule set, and I feel like the headiness of Necronihilus is what really makes the rule set to me like really.
Yes,
like just
it definitely elevates it. Yeah, for sure.
And the adaptation of such a heady rule set to a kind of a combat oriented, not combat, but a combat damage thing. I feel like this feels right. I feel like scoring it the same as Cyber Metal, but for different reasons, and even the same as Necronihilus, but for different reasons, is fantastic. And honestly, if we went back and redid Merkborg now after it being out for years, I feel like it would probably be more of like a 42, 43. But again, the value score shoots it through the roof. Yeah. If we took value off of a lot of our games, the scores would be a lot different because
the scores would change a lot. I mean, there's been a couple games where like. God, what is that one Western win over? I don't want to call it out right now, but it's like the value was what that dragged was what dipped it. Like getting 6 and 7s in value really dip a lot of scores out that mechanically and all the rest of it are fantastic. And a lot of that is just because the game might be expensive because there's no expanded content. So there might be times where after we hit 100 episodes, we could go back and look at games that have expanded content and bump them up by a point or two, and it'd be a huge different thing. But 43 is one of the highest scores we've ever given out. It seems to be the average for Adam Vass game. So considering, I think the only other game that we have done by Adam I think was Babes in the Wood, and that got a 37. Lowest score we've ever given, which is still really good. But I think it's just, I don't think that hits our vibe as much, even though it's a really good game. But otherwise, the only other score they've ever gotten is 43. So killer. I love it. I would play the shit out of this. I would play the shit out of this tomorrow. Final thoughts? No thoughts. Only vibes. No thoughts.
Only vibes.
Brain empty. Only vibes. So
yeah. So super fucking worth it. Highly recommend you pick this up. If you are a one of the many fans of Merkborg out there, highly fucking recommend this. This is exactly this. I feel like this is a step in evolution, right? Of playing a game. I feel like Merkborg is a pretty easy game to pick up as a first kind of like OSR game for people getting away from 5th edition, especially if you're like an edgelord piece of shit, which honestly, let's be honest, half of people in 5th edition are, right? Moving to something like this, which has headier concepts in it, is a really great pathway to something like Necronihilus, which is just, you know, where you're hitting the edges of mechanical bounds into just more like pure narrative games. So highly recommend it. That's where we're at. So coming up on the Weekly Scroll podcast, I believe it's on Thursday.
Oh, on Thursday.
Yeah.
Wait, that's
Thursday morning. Yeah. Thursday, we are going to be chatting with Neon Rot about all sorts of stuff and their recent Kickstarter, but we're actually going to be reviewing BDSM, Bottom Dwelling Sewer Mutants. And it's a pretty short zine, so we might hit MILF and CBT as well. So we'll go over those, but we're going to have them on to chat about the glorious ways of BDSM, and then read and review through those zines. So nice. Really excited for that. I think that's our only episode for the rest of this week. So I think the next time we're going to be on is like the 16th.
Hey, listen, next Sunday's Easter, baby. We got to give it up for Jesus next weekend. So when you're out there shaking ass for Jesus next weekend, just think of us.
Yes. Do those things, right? Let's all give thanks to Zombie Jesus and how he made the world clearly a better place.
Lich Jesus.
Obviously, we live in a world where Christ has only made things good and possible through him. Anyway, that is our episode. Hunter, you're the man as always. Adam, thank you for hanging out in chat. Thank you for making this fucking game. It is fantastic. I hope we were able to do it justice with a read through. If you're listening in podcast land, you can find all of Adam's stuff at World Champ Games, their itch page, or at IO for their regular page. Please go support a fantastic creator. Buy Sweet Revenge, buy Necronihilus, get all the gear, get a baby on a t-shirt, buy everything that Adam's ever done, because it is all amazing. And if you are wanting to follow more of us, you can find us on Instagram at the.weekly.scroll. Yes, I have fucking updated it. You can find us on Twitter at weekly_scroll, and please go check us out, all of our VODs and our actual plays and the rest of our content at the Adventure Archive on YouTube. Just like the Adventure Archive, hit that sub button. We're getting closer to 1,000, and we would really appreciate the support. You all have a wonderful day. Hunter, I'll see you later. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.